Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. In compliance with Chapter 551 Open Meetings of the Texas Government Code, I call to order a regular voting meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District for Thursday, April 27th, 2023 at 6:10 p.m. A quorum of the board is physically present at the AISD Central Office to conduct this meeting. This meeting is streaming live on AISD TV and Apple TV. It's also being broadcast on cable channel 22 through Spectrum, Astound Broadband, and on channel 99 through AT&T Uverse. Closed captioning in English is available on these platforms for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. To our audience tuning in remotely and here in person, especially our SLPs, we see you. Welcome, yes, welcome, and thank you for joining us. So we will move to the approval of the agenda. Secretary Boswell, do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right, having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously. Secretary Boswell, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Te honro, bandera de Texas. Te juro lealtad, Texas. Un estado bajo Dios, uno e indivisible.
Okay, so we will now move to our game changer item, which is our opportunity to recognize and observe important items happening in AISD and our nation. So Mr. Segura, would you please share our recognition?
Absolutely like to invite Michelle Wallace up to share the Game Changers recognitions with us.
Thank you, Superintendent Segura, President Singh, and trustees. I am here tonight. This is closer than it normally is. It's great to see everybody. Yeah, like this is different. All right. I'm here tonight to ask for formal recognition of some of our outdoor learning partners in Austin ISD in honor of Earth Day last week. Throughout the school year, we partner with so many organizations across Central Texas to support outdoor learning, and a special shout out to our outdoor learning specialist, Colleen Garland, who helps coordinate these efforts across the district and in partnership with the community. We have a couple of partners we wanted to give a special shout out to before the recognition statement is read. The Austin Parks Foundation, Big Green, the City of Austin with special recognition for the city's Connecting Children to Nature initiative, the Development Services Department, the Office of Sustainability, and Watershed Protection Department, all from the city. EcoRise, the National Wildlife Federation, Partners for Education, Agriculture, and Sustainability, or PEAS, the University of Texas Sprouting Teachers and Eden Interns program, and the West Cave Preserve. We're so grateful for these partners and would like to request recognition at this time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wallace. Trustee Gonzalez, do you have a recognition statement to share?
I do, thank you. On behalf of the Austin ISD Board of Trustees, it is my honor to recognize some of our outdoor learning partners for their support. With the passing of the 2022 bond, Austin ISD has committed to building or modernizing outdoor learning spaces at 51 campuses, including an additional $4.7 million in funding to support other outdoor learning projects across the district. While these new and innovative spaces are extremely crucial to the success of our students, the programming and learning that happens between students and teachers inside these spaces are just as important, and this is where our outdoor learning partners step in every day. Our dedicated outdoor learning partners provide grant funding, conduct student programming, and facilitate professional learning opportunities for students and staff across the district. Whether they are helping a campus plant new produce or habitat gardens, bring students outside to explore nature, raise and interact with animals, or utilize the environment as a classroom, our partners have gone above and beyond to support the mental and physical well-being of our students and staff with hands-on and engaging outdoor learning experiences. These types of partnerships are to be commended. It is with great pride that the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District recognizes and thanks our outdoor learning partners for their support of Austin ISD students, staff, and families.
Thank you for recognizing our outdoor learning partners.
Thank you. All right, so our next item is under the President's report. So I'm going to talk a little bit about special education and some of the things that, I'll give you a little update on what's happening there. So on April 17th, as many of you know, the district requested an informal review from the Texas Education Agency recommendation to appoint a conservator to help address special education issues. As many of you may know, also, there's like sort of 3 levels of intervention from TEA. The lowest one is a monitor, the next level up is a conservator, and the next level up is a takeover, like a takeover of the board and the superintendent. So they had recommended a conservator to help address special education. So so AISD is committed to implementing its comprehensive action plan to address our deficiencies. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are a lot of issues with special education in our district, and we have not served our students and families as well as we should be. At the same time, we feel like we have a path going forward, and it's part of this comprehensive action plan that our superintendent and the team have worked on. We are requesting a delay, however, in the decision about a conservatorship, and are instead seeking a Texas Education Agency monitor to ensure the best possible alignment between our efforts as a district and the efforts of the state for the ultimate benefit of our students. And we hope that our plan, including the work already underway, will demonstrate to TEA that we fully own the challenges before us, that we have the ability to fix the problems, and that we have a clear path forward. We are openly holding ourselves accountable to the success of these efforts, and know that our Austin community and TEA will do the same. Just like our teachers and campuses, this board is committed to a continuous improvement framework that is intensively focused on student outcomes. The board accomplishes this through vision setting, goal setting, and monitoring, and identifying our values and placing non-negotiables for AISD. We are committed to being Austin's home for inclusive learning, and recognize that this includes providing students with the support, accommodations, and individualized attention to ensure they can develop their full potential. This board and district consider the identification, evaluation, and development of students for special education services to be a non-negotiable, and we want to ensure the administration has the tools and support necessary to accomplish this goal. So there are a couple of things that our board is planning to do, and we have this special ed ad hoc committee that's comprised of myself, Trustee Boswell, Trustee Foster, and Trustee Whitley Chu. And one of the things that we want to do, and I'm probably sharing this with the rest of the board for the first time, is consider amending our scorecard next month to place a new metric in there around our special education, such as our evaluation backlog and ensuring students have appropriate supports. So the nice thing about putting in a scorecard is that it's a formal way, it's a way to formalize our priority and make it an inherent part of our governance role. It also allows the administration to present publicly where we are at certain intervals, and I think it provides the transparency that we know that our community really wants, and the accountability that our students the accountability to ourselves that our students deserve. So most of our scorecard, as those who watch closely, is focused on student outcomes like STAR scores and things like that. But our goals focused on literacy. However, this metric is not really an outcome, but they call it a constraint. But it's essentially going to be a goal to, for example, reduce the backlog of special education evaluations. And so I know Dr. Reach is going to be working with the board to help us develop this constraint, and then we'll be presenting it. The plan, if the board agrees to this and the administration as well, is to present this at our next board info session in May, and then vote on it at the end, near the end of May, on May 18th, actually. So as a new board, we are also committed to team training along with the superintendent on continuous learning that will help us better govern, progress monitor, and advocate for our students and ensure that we are accountable to the community. And so we're going to discuss other trainings that we might be pursuing, such as Lone Star Governance, which is something that TEA embodies. And as some of you may recall, a couple of years ago, we underwent training through the Council of Great City Schools with AJ Crable, and that's how we developed the scorecard that we currently have that's really focused on disaggregated data. Now that we have this new board in place, we will be getting some training. It might be through Lone Star Governance. We're not sure yet. We're talking about that, but to really ensure that that we have goals that we like, that we're going to be held accountable to. I don't foresee like a huge change in the scorecard, but it's really for all of us to start speaking the same language and get that common training along with our superintendent. So I'm really excited actually about the opportunity to do that. So let's see. At this time, we would like to have trustees provide committee reports. So we'll start with Secretary Boswell, because I know you have been very busy at the Capitol almost every day. Can you please share the intergovernmental report?
Yeah, not quite, but I know people from our community are there, very present, and really want to thank everyone who has been there advocating. We've had librarians and students and parents, lots teachers, lots of people up there speaking out for schools, so really appreciate that. The Board Intergovernmental Relations Committee met last on April 5th at 12:25 p.m. Trustees Hunter Gonzalez, Whitley Chu, and I were present, and Edna Butts from administration was with us as well. We discussed ideas for proposed advocacy resolutions to add or amend TASB's 2022-24 advocacy agenda, and have a few to submit. We'll present them to the Board of Trustees at our regular voting meeting in May, and they will be on the agenda for our information session in May. We also received an update on bills filed that affect the district that have been heard by the House Public Education Committee and the Senate Education Committee over the past 2 weeks since our prior meeting. We also discussed HB 1, the House budget that was considered, and HB 100, which is the main House school funding bill, which was heard Tuesday. And the basic allotment at this point in the House version of the bill is a $90 increase. We need $900 just to keep up with inflation since the last time we got an increase in per student funding. All is not lost, but it was not the outcome we hoped for. So we also discussed ongoing efforts to coordinate with other school districts, education-related organizations, and other partners across the state to coordinate efforts to support or oppose legislation. Just as an example of some things that have been happening, there's an event planned for Monday coming together statewide to talk about school funding from many different communities around the state all at once. You can watch on social media and amplify that if you were interested in school funding. I went on Tuesday with a trustee from Dripping Springs and a trustee from Thrall. So we had a big urban district of about 73,000 students. We had a fast-growth suburban district with about 8,000 students, and a rural district with about 800 students, speaking with people who will be reconciling the budget in the conference committee. Talked with those people from three very different district perspectives, explaining why we are very unified statewide on the need for an increase in the basic allotment. When there are a lot of people trying to divide, explained why we all want the same thing and how we were a cross-section of the state. And then a lot of people in our community and others came together today with a group called Just Fund It, to walk around the Capitol and deliver things, again, talking about funding, the return on investment for our communities. So there's a lot of good work being done, and really appreciate everyone who's been part of it. Thank you. And there's also a local election, 2 ballot initiatives locally. So please go vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Boswell. All right, Vice President Foster, can you share the policy report, please?
Sure, thank you. So the Board Policy Committee has been busy. We met 3 times since, since last reporting. We met March 23rd, April 3rd, and April 24th. So at the March 23rd meeting, the committee began the discussion of possible revisions to EHBJ local regarding special programs, innovative and magnet schools to include our single gender schools as special programs in the policy, an effort to sort of bring our policies into alignment and take a close look at how we're serving all of our special programs, that they all be included in the conversation. Committee also discussed FNCA Local, which deals with student conduct, dress code, and what factors should be considered in determining dress code requirements for participation in extracurricular activities. Many of the items that come before the policy committee are raised up through public comments, through feedback to the board that leads us to begin to ask questions about whether our policy aligns with our vision, our values, whether things need to be sort of cleaned up, et cetera. So that's an example of that. The committee considered also revisions to BF Local to require the superintendent to inform the board on a monthly basis of requests submitted to the Commissioner of Education for waivers, and recommended that this be placed on an upcoming consent agenda item for May in particular. That meeting was adjourned at 5:30. We agreed to come back together April 3rd because there was so much to do. In our April 3rd meeting, and by the way, in addition to the committee members present from the administration on the March 23rd were Jacob Breach, Edna Butts, and Eduardo Ramos. April 3rd, we convened, discussed revisions to FDA Local and regulation, which deals with admissions, interdistrict transfers, and also FDB Local, these proposed revisions are to support our work to simplify and improve our enrollment and transfer processes. This is Enroll Austin. Staff is engaging in ongoing community engagement, and we're going to see ongoing revisions and conversations, and that too will appear on an eventual, we anticipated appearing before the board for a consent item. Committee also discussed revisions to CE Local, State. This is like, I guess it's the work, so I'll just keep going. The committee also discussed revisions to CE Local, State, and federal revenue sources to require that the budget calendar be presented to the board in August and adopted by the board no later than September. So thank you, Trustee Boswell, for pushing us, and really lots of folks pushing us towards working earlier, working as transparently as possible, and now moving this into policy. So here again, you'll see a consent agenda item coming up in a meeting near you. The committee considered TASB Update 120, which amends 5 local policies to conform to current law or policies. The committee recommended that these updates be placed on the board's May consent agenda. That meeting was supported by Katie Cat Stevens, Edna Butts, Jacob Reach, Lauren Field, and Gabe Reyes from the administration. Finally, April 24th, our most recent meeting, where in addition to the committee, also present from administration were Jacob Reach, Edna Butts, Brandy Hosek, Katie Cass Stevens, Lauren Field, and Gabe Reyes. We discussed the revisions to FC Local, dealing with school attendance areas, FDA Local and regulation, admissions, interdistrict transfers, and FDB Local and regulation admissions, interdistrict transfers, and classroom assignments. These revisions are proposed to implement and again support the initiative to improve and simplify enrollment and transfer processes. So ongoing work that we'll probably be able to get through everything and put that on a June consent agenda item. We discussed DC Local, employment practices, and whether to require the board to approve the hiring of principals. This is an area where we have not reached consensus as a committee, and we'll probably like to find a way to have this be a more open discussion so that we can get community input and so that we can get board consensus before the policy committee, which is just the three of us who work well together, and we want broad input. The committee also discussed EHB Local, Special Programs Innovative, and Magnet programs to add a new provision, special programs to include Ann Richards School for Young Women Leaders, Gus Garcia Young Men's Leadership Academy, and Bertha Sadler Means Young Women's Leadership Academy, and to limit enrollment to the beginning of the fall semester. And here again, we have different practices in different places, often for different good reasons, but part of what we're interested in is transparency, clarity, and best practices and alignment. Finally, the committee discussed creating a new provision in BDF Local board internal organization around citizen advisory committees to distinguish between our advisory committees and our oversight committee. And here we'll probably add some language providing definitions of the oversight committee, which isn't there, and bring forth some revisions, hopefully for our next meeting. That was convened at 4:25. I want to go home. This was a lot of really good work. I am always impressed with the staff and the way they support us and keep us moving forward, and the way we're able to get these things through the process rigorously well. And what you will see tonight are several items on consent agenda that reflect earlier iterations of the policy committee's work. Thank you.
Thank you. 3 meetings in 1 month? Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Policy Committee. All right. Trustee Lugo, can you please share the audit report?
Sure, but that's a hard act to follow. All right, so the audit committee met today at 4 p.m. Myself, Trustee Andrew Gonzalez, Dr. David Kaufman, Ofelia Zapata were in attendance, along with Dr. Reach, representing the administration. Our auditor, Greg Gibson, along with his colleague, were also present. The committee discussed a review of kind of a first quarter data set looking at the district's anonymous reporting hotline and submissions to Let's Talk. And for anyone who this isn't on the script, but for anyone who has kids in the district or works for the district, and if you've used Let's Talk, I'm sure you have an opinion about whether or not that process is effective. So, teaser, our auditor is going to look at what the process is for how those Let's Talk and the anonymous reporting through the hotline, how those are triaged, who they go to, whether they're resolved, and what, kind of what manner, and how is resolved defined. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to present there. We also talked about the audit schedule, and some potential changes were considered. So ultimately, the audit committee agreed to having the following items on the audit plan for this coming school year, so 23-24. So financial management, payroll, accounts payable, and then bilingual and ESL. And then we are also considering whether to add a PEMS audit to year 2. And of course, we'll bring that to the full board for consideration. We also talked about the audit process flow and steps for identifying concerns and how that information would be shared between the administration, the audit committee, and worked through before reports are finalized. We discussed audit communication protocols. The audit planning calendar was also adjusted. Our auditor recommended that we move up by 1 month some of the planning steps for subsequent school years and which audits will come at that point. And then we voted on action items, including the approval of the March meeting minutes. Lastly, a copy of the documents from the committee meeting will be shared with all trustees through the board update. And the meeting adjourned at 5:38.
Thank you, Trustee Lugo and Audit Committee. All right, Trustee Whitley Chu, can you share the report for the Austin Ed Fund?
So the Austin Ed Fund will meet again on Thursday, May 18th. And on Thursday, May 18th, the Austin Ed Fund's hosting a deep dive event at 10 a.m. at Lively Middle School. And trustees are invited to join us for the event, where donors can see firsthand how your contributions impact teachers, students, and classrooms. Then on Tuesday, May 23rd at 6 p.m., the Austin Ed Fund is hosting a celebration event honoring teacher grant winners, and we hope you can join us. This year's Inspire the Future Teacher Grant Program will open on May 1st. Applications are due on June 23rd. We have lots of educators in the room, so please apply for a grant and please spread the word to educators. And you can visit austinedfund.org and click on For Educators to learn more and to apply. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Whitley Chu. All right, so I have a committee report for the Joint Subcommittee. The Joint Subcommittee, which is also called the JSC, met last Friday, April 21st, right here in this room. The JSC is comprised of 3 AISD trustees, so it's myself, Trustee Zapata, and Trustee Lugo, 3 City Council members, and 2 Travis County Commissioners. The JSC spent nearly the first half of the meeting discussing its purpose and planning for future collaboration, and each member provided input on their priority issues such as childcare, workforce development, sustainability, affordable housing, gun violence, and other important issues. The committee will use these for planning collaborative projects among the 3 entities to achieve results in the most efficient and effective manner possible. And Kathy McHorse, the Vice President of Success by 6 for United Way, provided a wonderful presentation of child care needs and child and work through a child and workforce lens. We are really fortunate to have them as partners to AISD. Also, Interim Superintendent Matthias Segura updated the JSC on TEA's appointment of a conservator for special education and on the status of Mendez Middle School. The JSC also received a written report on the resilience hubs, which has been an ongoing project of this joint committee. And we also received a brief update from Laura Patino, the Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Austin. So, trustees, are there any committee or training reports that I have left out? Oh, yes, Trustee Hunter.
I don't actually have an update from Austin Partners in Education. I just would like to remind everybody about Salute on May 10th.
Thank you. And can you share what Salute is for people who don't know?
Oh my goodness, that's where we get to recognize our classified staff, our principals, teachers, who else? Librarians. Oh my goodness, I forgot. And if you go on social media, there's little posts with them on there, and it's really, really cool. The celebrations that they're having for them and just announcing it. I got to participate in one for a teacher at one of my schools. It was really exciting to, it's kind of a big deal. You know, we thank teachers all the time, but it's a real big deal when you show up with balloons and all that kind of stuff. And we just really want to love on those staff, appreciate everybody doing everything, but want to really kind of lift up those people who are you know, putting in everything. I feel like everybody puts in everything, so like everybody should get an award. But yeah, Salute is an opportunity for us to recognize all of them.
Thank you, Trustee Hunter. And I think counselors are also recognized as well, correct?
Okay, excellent. Thank
yes.
you.
Oh, and PTAs. How could I forget? Yes, yes. Okay. So next up, we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Singh. As a commitment to the board, one of the things that we are continuing to do is provide updates around strategic initiatives. And as y'all know, since day one of these initiatives was the budget. And we have been moving very aggressively over the last several months. We certainly recognize that we don't have a tremendous amount of time left, and it's important that we share information in a timely manner. So we're going to have Ed Ramos, our Chief Financial Officer, and Brandy Hosick, who is our Chief of Human Capital, will write an update, and then I'll move on into celebrations right afterwards.
President Singh, Interim Superintendent Segura, Board of Trustees, Chief Hozak and I have the opportunity to give an update on our budget and compensation process. And so we are going to present some information that will also be presented at the May information session. And so as part of the process, we have really looked at making this a collaborative process. And so we've met with community members, committees throughout the district as early as beginning in December through April with many of our community groups. We've met with several of our advisory committees. You see a list before you. We've also given budget updates to our Board of Trustees, January and through June. As you know, June is the final month that we have to approve our budget. We've also met in several meetings with Education Austin and also as part of the consultation meetings beginning January through April. And then we've also implemented and used a tool to gather as many thoughts and ideas from our community and committees as we could through the Thought Exchange product. We've actually had 5,446 ratings as part of that process, 289 thoughts. To the right-hand side, you see a word cloud that really highlights several of the thoughts that both community members and employees gave throughout the district, many of them applying towards salary, cost, several topics on the cost of living in Austin, retention of our employees, the affordability. And so all these thoughts were taken into consideration as part of this process. Also through the process, we developed some focus areas for next year's budget, those areas including really maximizing all potential funding. And so when we talk about maximizing funding, we're talking about maximizing ESSER funding, Title I funds, interest earnings that the district has the capacity to really invest in. Also analyze the impact of the 88th state legislative session, which is currently underway. We wanted to make sure that any additional budget requests, we tried to remain as neutral as possible. In other words, if there were budget requests, then other areas in the district where we could reduce budgets to make it a budget neutral item. And then, of course, invest in our employees. That was one of the loudest thoughts and topics that we continuously heard throughout our conversations with not only you, our Board of Trustees, but with the community and committees. And so as part of that, we wanted to make sure that we continued to invest in our employees as far as the overall budget percentage. And so if you remember when we adopted last year's or this current year's budget, we included 87% of our total expenditures in payroll. And so one of the scenarios that you will hear tonight also invests 87% in payroll, and so you'll see those numbers. We also looked at after-school care with discounted staff tuition. There's housing incentives that we looked at, professional pathways for teachers. That program was analyzed. Also, we wanted to really make sure that we aligned board and budget priorities together. Again, the largest areas of priority for us to look at included staff compensation, librarian and library services, special education, multilingual education, and mental health services. We also, based on timing, had to move forward with certain decisions early on in the school year. And so these are what we call non-compensation type items that have already been included as part of the budgeting process. All of these have been included in our budget estimates. And so when you see the scenarios that we will present to you, these non-compensation items have already been included in those estimates. So those estimates total $10.2 million. That includes increased student weighting for economically disadvantaged and emergent bilingual in our staffing formulas, additional athletic trainers for 5A, specialized staffing for small campuses, research and evaluation department, an ombudsman office, expansion of Literacy First, and paper report cards. And now Chief Hozak will go over the compensation scenarios that we have developed over the time period, again January through current April, working collaboratively with Ed Austin as part of this process.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, President Singh and Interim Superintendent Segura. It's my great pleasure to go through some compensation scenarios with you tonight. I'm going to take you back a few months ago as we started working on this with Education Austin. And so if you can remember back, we started with our very first run out of the gate talking about a $17 minimum pay for classified, which is a $1 increase, and working compression with that $1 increase. It would have also moved our bus drivers up to $22, 5% of midpoint for teachers and librarians, 5% for counselors, 7% for IT scale, 5% for police department, 3% for administrative professional scale, and an increase to our bilingual and SPED stipends for a cost of $3.5 million on that item. Next slide. That scenario would have put, again, that was our first compensation scenario. I don't want it to be overlooked that that would have been a $12 million deficit into the budget. Moving on to scenario 2, we came back together with Ed Austin and worked a different scenario. This one was for a $2 flat raise for all classified. Now, I want to be very clear. In scenario 1, you saw lots of piecing apart of different positions. And so this iteration is a $2 flat raise for all classified. Now, that includes our instructional support, which is our TAs, for example. Our non-instructional support, so clerical staff, data techs, et cetera. Auxiliary staff, which those are our bus drivers and our food service. Our police department, and then I did put bus drivers on a separate scale just to make sure that everybody could see where they fit. This one also includes a 5% for teachers and librarians, and this is I'm very proud of this option. We wanted to recreate this scale because oftentimes what we see is if we just give a percentage of midpoint, we may have an opportunity for our current employees to, because they've only been raised by percentages over time, someone that comes in on an entry point could possibly make more than a person who has been there for the same amount of years, and we do not want that. So this would be the rebuilding of a scale and a replacement on the scale, so we ensure that our folks who have been with us are being paid appropriately. This would have also taken counselors off onto their own schedule. One of the things that we've run into over time is that counselors have been part of that administrative professional scale, and so this is how we've lost ground in being on market value with our counselors, because when you're built into a scale with many other jobs and we raise that by only 2 or 3%, you run the likelihood of being able to lose that ground. So we wanted to pull counselors off and make sure that we are able to raise them independently. The 3% for the administrative professional scale stayed the same, and this is, we started to increase market adjustments for special education positions, looking at all of them across the board, OT, PT, SLP, LSSP, ed diags, et cetera, to make sure that we are on market value. And then again, the increase to the bilingual and special education stipends, and also a look at department chair stipends along with our athletic stipends. Finally, with compensation scenario 3, we are, our last iteration of working with Education Austin left with this as our profile, and that would be a $4 flat raise for all classified IS, NIS, AUX, PD, bus drivers. 7% for teachers, librarians, counselors, instructional coaches, special education related services, and again, the better of the percentage of 7% or a replacement on the scale. So if you are more than 7% behind that step, then you would get the better of the two. A 3% administrative professional scale, that has not moved since the very first iteration. And then above market adjustments for our special education positions for LSSPs and ed diags, an increase to the bilingual and special education stipends to 7 on both of those. And we did expand the qualifying positions that are eligible for those stipends. And finally, again, position stipend adjustments for our department chairs and our athletic coaches. And that one, I'm going to hand back to Ed to talk to you about the numbers.
And so the next slide talks about the 3 scenarios, just so that you can see for comparison's sakes. The biggest change between the three scenarios is how they impact our budget. So scenario one put us at a $12 million deficit. Scenario two, $40.6 million deficit. And scenario three, $54 million deficit, which is 3% of our total budgeted expenditures that we are estimating for next year. When you look at our unassigned fund balance, scenario one puts us at 27.5%. Scenario two, 25.3%, and scenario three, 21%. We also wanted to give a snapshot of our Austin ISD budget history, where we have been with our budget adoptions over the years. So if you look at 2018, we originally adopted a $54.1 million budget deficit, ended the year at $17.1 million. The reason we wanted to show this is really to highlight that when we adopt a budget, there still is work to do during the school year, and so we have ended the year better than what we have originally budgeted, with the exception of the 2020 school year. Also, it's important to note that for last school year, the 21-22 school year, and this current school year, we did end with a surplus. And so last year, we ended with a $31.6 million surplus. This year, we are estimating to end the year with a $7 million surplus. So we have, and we will put funds into fund balance over the next 2 years. And so that's important because it has positioned us as a district to really make an aggressive move, which was our hope all along with next year's budget. Again, using the highest cost scenario that you have heard tonight, that would be the $54 million shortfall, would be 3% of our budget. But again, it's also important to note that 87% of our expenditures are invested in our employees, which is historically where we have been at the highest level in this district. And then as far as the budget development, some of the areas that we need to base our assumptions on is that this is based on current state funding. So the highest cost scenario, scenario three, the $54 million deficit, that's based on current year funding. As you know, there is a legislative process in place. However, we must adopt our budget by June 30th. That's part of the laws that we have to abide by through the state of Texas. And so timing becomes an issue for us. And the reason I say that is because employees are making decisions, employment decisions, whether they want to stay in Austin or move. And so we wanted to make sure that employees and the Board of Trustees had this information sooner than later so that you could see where we were with our budget. The recommendations, all of them do maintain our 20% fund balance policy. The more expensive scenario three puts us at 21%. Also, all these scenarios would not have an impact to our 2023 first rating. That would occur, and these numbers would occur the following school year with those ratings. 87% dedicated to teacher and staff salary. And again, we wanted to make sure that if we move forward with a deficit budget, we also begin to develop and implement a plan to reduce our overall deficit over the next school year. So instead of having to make some quick decisions over the next month or two, we are giving ourselves the entire school year to continue to find efficiencies and areas where we can reduce our overall expenditure reductions. And so that being said, these are some of the strategies that we would look at. One, we would look at maximizing revenues through potential state funding. Again, the estimates are based on current year funding. So we know that we would receive some assistance from the state. At minimum, we're looking at an additional $6 million in state revenue. We would also basically commit ourselves to not paying recapture early. And the reason I say that is when we did pay our recapture payment early in the month of June last year, our interest rate was at 0.5%. Current interest rates are now at 5%, 4.5% to 5%. And so what that means for Austin ISD is by paying our recapture payment when due, we earn an additional $10 million in interest earnings. And so that would be used to offset some of that $54 million shortfall. And then finally, we would look at, again, really dive into our enrollment, our ADA percentage, and look at programs to really capture market share as far as the overall number of students, look at programs that would encourage students to come to school and increase our ADA percentage, average daily attendance percentage. Currently, we're at 91%. Historically, before the pandemic, we were at 94, 95%, so we've got some room to grow. But the estimate there is we could potentially create a $1.5 million additional state revenue. And then, of course, expenditure reduction strategies, really keeping an eye on enrollment and looking at the student numbers that come in next year. So if our student numbers come in short, we have to look at reductions through attrition. Evaluation of vacancy savings, looking at vacancy savings in the district over the next budget year. Also evaluate contracts and software costs. So that gives us time to really gather the data and look at these programs and seeing if they are receiving the outcomes that we would like as a district. Finally, any additional budget requests next year must be neutral. So if any department requests additional funding, we look at that same department, where would reductions occur in other areas, or as a district, where could we reduce in other areas to meet those needs. And then finally, evaluate potential bond savings. As part of the 2022 bond program, we did include $25 million to assist us with aging equipment, aging HVAC equipment, facility equipment, and so those funds are there that we could potentially use immediately next budget year. Finally, continue to identify inefficient costs and maximize our Title I funding. As you've heard, we left $6 million on the table last year, which means we potentially coded several expenditures out of our operating budget that could have been coded to Title I. And then look at implementing a budget oversight committee to continually look at our budgets, receive updates. Not only the board would receive monthly financial updates, but we would have a committee that would also receive updates and work with us to make sure that we maximize efficiencies in the district.
Thank you, Ed. I very much appreciate the update. Also would like to communicate to the Board of Trustees just that, from day one, we wanted to be aggressive. We wanted to acknowledge that it is incredibly difficult for those serving our community to actually live in the community they serve. And so we asked the team to be creative. We asked them to be aggressive. Certainly want to thank Ed Austin with their collaborative support through this process. We're excited. I think, we talk about $4 for scenario 3, but really what that means is $20 for base pay for classified staff, which is an important milestone for this organization to take on. And so at this point, I'd like to pause briefly and just answer if there are any clarifying questions from the Board of Trustees.
And may I make a suggestion that we'll just go down the line and just ask one question? Because we're not agendaed to really discuss this. We're going to have a bigger discussion, but because I wanted to make sure this compensation development was publicly presented. So do you mind if I just kind of start? If you have a question, great. If not, we'll pass. So.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Ramos. I might have missed it, but could you talk about where parent support specialists fit into what you're proposing?
So parent support specialists would be included in the classified raises, and so they would receive all of them would receive a $4 increase.
And it is $4 across the board, not compression.
Right.
Okay.
It is just a straight $4.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve Kaufman. Yeah.
I want to just thank you for the engagement that you went through and for your team for doing the hard work of trying to figure this out. I want to thank Education Austin for their advocacy for this and for the collaboration that the administration and the Education Austin exhibited to get this done. My question is actually, my main question is, when will we know about the Title I funds, whether we'll get an exception and be able to carry over more of those funds?
So that was granted 2 weeks ago, so we did receive those funds.
So when you said about the $6 million, like that's a plan for this year, but we did recoup those funds from last year?
That's correct, yes.
Perfect. My other question is, where can I invest my money to get 5%? Because I'm getting 0.01%, but we can talk about that later.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter.
Again, thank you for the presentation and the tool that so many of us got to use and the community got to use. I don't actually have a question, but you mentioned something about enrollment was normally 94% and is now currently sitting at?
So pre-pandemic, our average daily attendance was sitting at 94%. Currently, we are at 91%, and that's not an anomaly. If you look at other districts around us, they're at between 90 and 92%.
Have a request from the superintendent. If we can assess who, if anyone, then is checking on enrollment and look at the impact of having graduation coaches and not having graduation coaches. Thank you.
Vice President Foster.
Superintendent Segura, are we going to have this presented at info session for full discussion?
So as we move forward, the hope, because we do want to make sure that our staff understand where we are in the process so they can make decisions about whether they want to stay with the ISD or if they'd like to leave. I mean, there are a lot of decisions that are happening right now as we move towards the end of the school year. So what we're looking to do is to bring forward a consultation agreement for consideration on the May board meeting, which means that you would review it earlier than that in the board information session, which is only 2 weeks away. And so we'll have this conversation as well, and we'll have some documentation to support it as well.
Cool. Thank you for all the ongoing work, by the way.
Thank you. Secretary Boswell.
Yeah, just want to express gratitude above all for the process. I think process matters in the product, and we see that very clearly in this. So thank you to you for creating the opportunities and for everyone who has shown up to engage, and for doing it early so we can have really substantive conversations among ourselves with you and with the community. So thank you for that very much. And I appreciate looking at the cost savings and being really thoughtful and deliberate about that rather than having it be an emergency decision, which I don't think we ever make our best decisions in that way. So I'll be curious to hear when we come back and have the presentation in May more about that and what you envision as that process and perhaps even some scenarios and possibilities. And then just also want to ask for that meeting in May. I know we won't have perfect clarity on what the legislature's expecting, but I do know there are a lot of things being proposed that will have a cost either in this coming year or in the following year, and want to be sure we're really considering if we may need a new library system, if we may have some obligations about armed people on our campuses, about hardening buildings, things that may come as mandates without perhaps all the funding we need. And I want to be sure we have some guesstimate at least about that so we can factor that in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Zapata.
Thank you for all your hard work, and I still would like some clarification, and if you don't have it today, I mean, I know we'll be talking still, but the City of Austin pays their employees $20 an hour, and so the parent support specialists should have been getting that $20 an hour as well. So if the city, and we are having the city look into this, if they're going to bring it to $20 an hour, what would that mean for our parent support specialists? And to be, I don't know about this classified, how you determine the classification, because a parent support specialist serves the entire student body family. So there's 400 parents. They're serving 400 families. So I think it would be good to be thinking about how we change that title as well. So that's one. The other thing is there a time certain, a date, a deadline that staff confirm with their principals so that principals are not left in limbo of are they staying or coming? And because many have shared, they would really like to have their staff secured by, before everybody leaves. May would be the best time that they would really like to have confirmation so that they know, that they can start the new year with the full staff, and it gives them time to secure that staff. So that's just one thing I'd like to bring up and see if that's something that can happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zapata. Regarding our parent support specialists, should the city provide those additional dollars, we will adjust accordingly to make sure that our parent support specialists are paid. They absolutely deserve everything that we can give to them because they do an amazing amount of work, and they really are the lifeline of a school. And regarding the resignation dates, the state of Texas for our employees who hold certificates, the Board of Education says that they have 30 days it used to be 45, but now they have 30 days before the first day of the next school year to resign without penalty. And so it's not an AISD thing, it is a state thing about that 30-day window. We also would love to know in May, and we want to keep everyone here, but we are obligated to the Texas Education Code with that. Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Lugo.
Yeah, I have a question. I was looking on board docs, and we don't have the presentation, but can y'all pull up the slide that shows, I think it's the one that, okay, I can't see, sorry.
Ms. Petrosini just sent us the presentation, by the way.
Oh, okay, thank you.
FYI.
I was looking for, well, I'll just ask my question. Can you talk about the expansion or
Yes.
the expanded definition for the bilingual and SPED stipends?
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this item because we should be compensating for a skill set. And anyone that comes to our district that has a bilingual certification or can show mastery on a different assessment should be compensated for that. And so when we look at our vacancies, it should not be a surprise because we're not compensating fairly for that skill set. So currently, regardless of whether you're in a dual language position or not, we have found a way to compensate for that. They may be at different levels, but right now today, if you are bilingually certified and not in a dual language position, you're not getting compensated for that. And so we're bound to change that. Further, we are expanding who it affects. So for example, making sure that all of our related services, OT, PT, SLP, all of them are included in this bilingual stipend, making sure that counselors are in our bilingual stipend, librarians are in our bilingual stipend. Also, which is incredibly thoughtful, and I had to give credit to Education Austin for bringing this up, our DHH teachers. Sign language, that is, you are bilingual. And so I thoroughly appreciate that, but also our assistant principals, which has been an area that we have not been able to expand to, that we will absolutely include in this iteration.
Makes me so happy. Thank you.
Trustee Whitley Chu.
Oh, I have a lot to say, but so since who is the SPED stipend? That was her question, so I won't count it. So who's that being expanded to?
Any and every special education campus-based position and the central office positions that are also related services, OT, PT, SLP. Again, I go through all of the titles, but making sure that every single one of our related services are qualified for our special education stipend. Yeah, so all of the campus positions are covered as well.
Excellent. I have so many questions. I'm very excited. So, this is something I have, when we started the school year, that was a really, really scary time for our schools and our parents not being fully staffed. And that was just such a huge priority of us coming in the new board, the new administration, that can't happen again. And having a $20 an hour minimum wage is just required in this town. And our staff absolutely deserves it. And I'm just so pleased that that's happening. And coming in as big as we can for our teachers and our librarians, our instructional coaches, our counselors. And I also appreciate y'all walking us through as new board members and learning about things. So knowing, okay, if we want to give, when we were throwing out, well, we want to give SLPs a raise, instead of making an excuse that they're on the administrative schedule and we can't do it, moving them off.
Move 'em off.
So breaking down those bureaucratic barriers instead of making it an excuse for not doing what's right. And so I'm just really proud that I get to be a part of this. And let's see, where is my my question, since I get one today, is when can we make this public? I want our staff to know. I want potential applicants to know. Is this what's happening right now?
I would be happy to answer that, and I believe Mr. Zarefis in the back of the room would be happy for me to say that as well. The district and Education Austin did come to an agreement on scenario 3, and we'll be writing the consultation agreement as such, and it will be up to the board to decide how to move forward.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, and I look forward to supporting that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I just have
We
to
can't ask any more questions. Chris, okay, is that okay?
It's clarification on.
It's just clarification
Okay,
questions. It's okay, but
clarification. Yes.
let's not deliberate.
Okay, super fast. On the bilingual stipend,
Yes, sir.
maybe I misunderstood, but you said about providing the stipend for bilingual certified people who are not in dual language positions. Do you mean people who are not in classroom teaching positions, or do you mean bilingual certified teachers who are teaching in a general ed English only classroom?
Bilingual certified teachers teaching in any classroom.
Okay, let's talk.
Bilingual certified.
Thank you. All right. So I appreciate the trustees. Thank you so much for our staff, and
We'll
What do you got
continue
next?
on with Austin ISD celebrations. So get ready, y'all. This is it's a long one. A lot of things to celebrate here in Austin ISD. So I'd like to invite Heather to help me through the slides. The first on slide 14, I think it's just clicking over. I'd like to say congratulations to Keeling Middle School sixth graders Arjun Sharma and Samantha Menon for winning second place in the Environmental Engineering category at the 2023 Texas Science and Engineering Fair at Texas A&M. Arjun and Samantha demonstrated a novel and effective way to reduce carbon dioxide, one of the primary causes of climate change. Over 20,000 projects by students in 6th through 12th grades from all over Texas took part in the Science and Engineering Fair. So congratulations, just incredible. So moving on to slide 15, 5th Annual Battle of the Books. The Ann Richards School hosted the 5th Annual Area Battle of the Books for students from 10 area schools in Austin ISD as well as Pflugerville ISD. Each participant read 10 books from different genres for Kahoot and Jeopardy! Ann Richards School's own retired magical ninja librarian, Miss Mauser, helped MC the event. AISD schools earned the top 3 spots in the contest. Anderson High School won, Bowie High School took second place, and LASA took third place. So you can see there's an incredible event. Oh, Ann Richards, I'm sorry. Moving on to Lively students create prize-winning videos. There we go, Lively Falcons. 3 students from Lively Middle School created prize-winning videos to promote flood safety. The new contest, sponsored by the City of Austin's Watershed Protection Department, raises awareness about flood safety and encourages young people to take action to promote their communities. Judges said the winning videos stood out for their powerful messages, impactful visuals, and originality. 3 Lively Middle School students, 8th grader Emma Wang, 8th grader Paranuas Inapor, and 7th grader Wilder Orendorf were chosen as winners. Congratulations. McCallum and LASA Performing Arts Superstars. McCallum High School Fine Arts Academy Theater Department won multiple awards at the 10th Annual Helen Awards for young artists competing against 33 area schools. McCallum won Best Production for their staging of Pippin, as well as Best Lighting Design, Best Technical Design, and Best Orchestra. Way to go, McCallum Fine Arts Academy. Also at the Helen Awards, LASA English and drama teacher Jason Eskandel was awarded the Broadway Teaching Group Training Scholarship. He was one of only 2 winners, even though this is his first year teaching theater. So pretty incredible. Moving on, HEB Teacher of Excellence, Ms. Teresa Kumaswamy, a biology teacher at Anderson High School, recently received the HEB Teacher of Excellence in Education Award. Created in 2002, the HEB Excellence in Education Award honors outstanding public school professionals, and thanks them for their dedication and commitment. Congratulations, Ms. Kumara Swami. All right, Lamar Counselor wins Star of the Month. Judy Barron, lead counselor at Lamar Middle School, received the Region 13 Star of the Month award for April. The Region 13 Star of the Month celebrates education professionals who leave a lasting impression on their students or colleagues. We were so excited to be there when she was surprised with the award, and we're immensely proud to have her in our AISD family. School Library Month. April is a big month for our libraries and our fabulous people who make them so magical. Not only is April School Library Month, we also celebrate National School Librarian Day, April 4th, and National Librarian Week. This year's theme for National Library Week 2023 is There's More to the Story, a reminder that libraries and librarians offer so much more than fascinating books. Tonight, I'll highlight 2 examples of our outstanding librarians. Emily Hirsch, a librarian at Navarro Early College High School, was honored at the Texas Librarian Associate Annual Conference with the Young Adult Reading Initiative, or YADI, award. Emily put on a Freedom to Read challenge and celebration this year that included free books for her students. Absolutely incredible. Our Navarro Library Assistant, Stephanie Leslie, received a conference stipend from the Junior Library Guild for her essay on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Navarro Library. Our librarians do an amazing job connecting students with books that satisfy their curiosities, expand their horizons, affirm their identities, and sometimes even challenge their ideas. We love our Austin ISD libraries and librarians. Latino Academic Achievement Awards. This year marks the quinceañera, or 15th year, of the Austin ISD Latino Awards. Achievement Awards, affectionately known as LAAA or LAAA. We recognize over 180 Latinos students in grades 7 through 12 for outstanding academic and leadership in the categories of Young Latino Leader, Outstanding Academic Progress in the ESL program, Outstanding Academic Progress in the Dual Language program, and Latino student with the highest GPA, 9th through 11th grade. We also honored our Latino seniors with special stoles for members of the class of 2023 who are graduating with the Dual Language Seal of Biliteracy, and presented a Glass Star Award to the Latino senior with the highest GPA at each campus. Special thanks to Paul Kretschner, who gathered artwork by Austin ISD Latino students from the Texas Art Education Association Gallery to display during the ceremony held at the Performing Arts Center. Certainly want to express appreciation to the trustees for showing support and attending. It was also a night of amazing performances. Hart Elementary's Ballet Flocorio performed, as did Bedichek's Middle School's Junior Marine Corps Color Guard, and Aria Lopez of LBJ Early College High School sang and played La Llorona on her guitar, which was absolutely incredible. It was very impressive. Victor Rodriguez and Joy Diaz from the Department of Communications and Community Engagement served as our Masters and Mistress of Ceremonies with Spanish and ASL interpretation. President Singh gave welcoming remarks in English and Spanish. Very good, bien hecho. And I was honored to give the keynote address. President Singh did an incredible job. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Several of our trustees helped present awards to outstanding Austin ISD staff, community volunteers, and advocates, including the Latino Community Service Award, Katia Guzman, the Latino Parent Volunteer Award to Esther Gutierrez for her service at Bettis Elementary School, the Latino Excellence and Advocacy Award to Maria P. Hernandez and Vela, and the LAAA Staff Member Award to Melissa Kender, Assistant Principal at Dobie Middle School. The Atkins Early College High School Mariachi closed out the evening with a rousing 5-song set, including Las Mañanitas, to celebrate the quinceañera. What a joy it was to be part of a special night. It was awesome. It was an absolutely incredible event. Just great experience. Everything's fun. Austin ISD appreciates bus drivers and administrative professionals. This week we celebrated School Bus Driver Appreciation Day on Tuesday and Administrative Professional Day on Wednesday. Our incredible team of dedicated bus drivers are up long before the sun rises and ends their day many times long after the sun sets. They are the first ones to greet our students and the last ones to see them home safely. Thank you, Austin ISD bus drivers. Y'all are incredible. Awesome. Just thank you so much. On Wednesday, we recognized our administrative professionals. The district would come to a grinding halt, and this would be a grinding halt, without their dedication and commitment to serving and supporting all of us in countless ways. Much of their work goes unseen, but makes such a tremendous difference. Our administrative professionals go above and beyond every day, and for that, we thank you. The Arab American Heritage Month. Last week, we honored Eid al-Fitr celebration, which ended Ramadan. This celebration brings families together to celebrate after a month of fasting during daylight hours. Austin ISD honors the many cultures and religious beliefs that make us a strong, inclusive community. Throughout the month, we profiled staff, members of Arab American heritage in our staff, family, and community newsletters. I encourage you to check out their beautiful stories and the inspiring work they do for the Austin ISD community. Earth Week celebration. While Austin ISD honors our commitment to sustainability and the environment all year long, we were especially excited to celebrate Earth Week, April 17th through the 22nd. Each school received an Earth Week toolkit with posters of environmental justice heroes and the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, which Austin ISD proudly signed back in 2017. Families, students, teachers, and staff were encouraged to check out our Earth Week website for fun and meaningful ways to take action. You can see the photos, by the photos, that there was a lot of hands-on action. Covenant Presbyterian donates $24,000 to clear student lunch debt. We want to say a special thank you to Covenant Presbyterian Church. They have announced that they will pay off the lunch debt for all Austin ISD students for this school year. The church will also, that's incredible. The church will also donate funds to cover the additional unpaid lunches through the end of the 2022-23 school year. All told, Covenant will donate just over $24,000 to erase this year's student lunch debt in Austin ISD. It's important to note that when our students have a hard time paying for school meals, they continue to receive courtesy meals provided by the district. There is no cap on the number of courtesy meals a student can receive. However, the district does not have funds to pay for these extra meals, and donated funds go a long way to covering the shortfall. Covenant's mission director, Whitney Bell, said, "What we ultimately came down to was that feeling there should never be an issue for a school district or a family to have to worry about. If there's something Covenant can do to make help sure that kids are fed, we should absolutely do it." Thanks to Christian Cowan, our revenue accountant for food service, who helped us set up the generous donation. Austin ISD is grateful to the congregation of Covenant Presbyterian for their generosity. And with that, President Singh and trustees, I conclude my superintendent's report and update.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Thank
you. Lots of applause. So thank you to all of our administrative professionals. And of course, we on this dais have a special place in our heart for Laura Orozco. And I'm going to ask Trustee Hunter to say a few words.
While we all do a lot of work, she is the main reason you see a well-oiled machine on those days. Really want to take some time to thank you, Laura, and just appreciate all of the work that you do and your willingness to serve. Sometimes I forget when she gets to work and I'll call her and she's taking the call anyway. But no, I really appreciate everything you do. We all do, from the materials to the care that you give for us. I have a personal story. Last week, I was really stressing out and struggling, and she was like, what can I do to fix this? How can I make this right for you? And I was like, you could adopt one of my children. But she was unwilling, and she would not go that far. She was unwilling to support me there. But she did take time out of her schedule to work with me and support me, and we appreciate all the things you do, how you keep us running, telling us what to do, where to be, how to show up, and sometimes putting words in our hands. We appreciate that so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Ms. Zapata, Trustee Zapata.
No, I have to say something. Laura, she could really go and teach people, a lot of professors, about how to help people with disabilities. I thought she had some certification, special training, and she leads with love. And so I just want to tell her how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lot of love being felt on this dais right now for you. All right, so trustees, were there any questions about the superintendent's report? Okay, we good? Did you have a question?
Can I add
Yes.
one thing? It's not a question really. It's just a recognition. I went to Aikens last week for the courting ceremony for their health science program, and I just want to brag on the teacher that runs that program, Miss Flores. They had a vacancy at Bowie, and she took on an additional 10 students that were not her own in a portable, which is very crowded when you have 40 kids in there. And she had a 100% passing rate on the health science exams for this year. All of her kids passed. Yeah,
Thank you.
really remarkable.
Way to go, Aikens. All right, so our next item is an update on our intruder detection audits.
And Dr. Reach, will you please provide us with that update?
Of course. Good evening, President Singh, Board of Trustees, and Interim Superintendent Segura. So I'm happy to provide our update on intruder detection audits, which were a new requirement by the Governor of Texas prior to the 2022-2023 school year. And it asks that all campuses conduct audits of exterior doors and regularly check these doors. As part of that process, the governor has directed the Texas State School Safety Center and Texas Education Agency to conduct intruder detection audits on school campuses during the year. Despite the name, these are not mocked forced entry intruder drills. They are plain dressed individuals working with the Education Service Center who arrive at our schools and they attempt to enter at somewhere between 3 doors, or to see if a student or staff member will let them in the door without directing them to the front door or telling them that, no, you cannot come in through this door, which does happen in some of our schools. We're always very proud when students and staff turn them away. The auditor then walks the building with a campus administrator to check all the exterior doors and all of the interior doors for rooms where there are students. Finally, the auditor reviews our logs that our weekly checks have been completed. When campuses do not meet one or more of these checks, we're required to hold a planning meeting with that campus where we address the concerns, and we also ensure that we expedite any fixes to exterior doors that may have been learned about during those audits. Next, we share those results with the Safety and Security Committee, and we met last Tuesday to go through those results. And then finally, we provide an update at the next regular voting meeting for the board, which is tonight's meeting, to share that info and let the public know that we had audits conducted and at least one or more campus had a concern. Since we last met, we've had 8 additional audits. That brings us to a total of 85 campus audits, which includes those 8. Based off of the information we were provided from the Texas School Safety Center, we expect 75% of all ASD campuses to be audited. And to date, we are at 73.9%. So we're close. Due to the confidential nature of safety plans for campuses and to ensure we're not inadvertently indicating safety weaknesses at any campuses, we will not be disclosing any of the campuses at tonight's meeting, and nor will we be able to share what the individual audit findings were. However, for our trustees, a copy of each one of those audits is included in the executive session of our agenda. And if trustees have any questions, staff will be ready to share additional details in executive session if needed. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Trustees, are there any questions? No, all right. So we will now move to public testimony for items on the consent agenda. Members of the public wishing to participate in the public testimony portion of our meeting called a dedicated AISD phone line in advance of the meeting to sign up to speak in person or to audio record their remarks. Tonight we have 5 who signed up to speak in person, and we have 8 who left a recorded message. So we will now move to our in-person testimony. In order to provide as many opportunities for input as possible within a limited time period at this meeting, each speaker will be allotted 1 minute. No substitutions or yielding of time to others is permitted. Callers who signed up to speak in person are welcome to come to the microphone when their name is called. And as you come to the microphone, there is a device that will light up. And as you move through your 1 minute of allotted time, that will light up. And when the buzzer sounds, please make a final thought in one sentence. Don't make me use my gavel. Again, we ask that whether you come to give a complaint or praise, that you reference the staff member by position or by abbreviated last name. We ask that all audience members, whether speaking or not, please show respect for others at all times. So the first speaker is Tracy Dunlap, followed by Maura Masters. And then we'll have Ken Zarefis, Rachel Preston, and one of our Teacher of the Year finalists, Megan Vasquez. Go ahead.
My name is Tracy Dunlap, and I'm... Mike, please.
Oh, Mike, please.
Wasn't on? All right. My name's Tracy Dunlap. I'm a teacher at Maplewood and a leader with Education Austin. I'm here to talk about agenda item 14.3 and a pay increase for all employees. AISD employees are currently bringing home less now than we did 10 years ago when adjusted for inflation, and we all know there's a pay gap between teachers and other professions. This gap only widens as you invest more years into teaching. I am a proud 35-year career educator with 17 years in this district, and I only make about $10,000 more than a first-year teacher. Can you imagine how that feels? Right now, I can just barely afford to stay in my home, but I can't afford repairs. I'm driving on 2 bald tires. The cost of everything has skyrocketed, and I worry that I'll never be able to retire. Many of us who work a second job feel that one job should be enough. How can I do my best for students if I'm exhausted from taking on additional work? Please take care of your teachers and support personnel, and we'll take care of the kids. Put your people first. We know our worth. Now please show us that you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunlap. Next we have Maura Masters.
My name is Maura Masters. I am a teacher and the Ballet Folklorico Director at Austin High. I'm also a proud member of the Education Austin Executive Board. I've taught with the district for 20 years, and like many other employees, I live in an adjoining school district. On top of teaching and directing what is essentially a working dance company, I have been working Instacart for the past year, as my unique family situation has me paying for an immigration attorney to get my husband here. I'm also dealing with some health issues, and I am exhausted. I try each day to give my best to my students, but my best is not what it should be. It should not be that a professional with more than 2 decades of experience should come up against one unexpected family emergency and need to seek additional employment. I am not unique as a certified employee working extra jobs, and most of my classified colleagues do as well. In order to keep us in the district and allow us to do the best by our students, I urge you to vote to confirm the approved compensation levels agreed upon in consultation with Education Austin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. Next, we have Ken Zarefis.
Good evening. My name is Ken Zarefis, President of Education Austin. Proud President of Education Austin. How do we know our worth? We know our worth because before the pandemic, teachers, custodians, bus drivers, food service workers were doing all the work for not enough pay. During the pandemic, we were called heroes. And they were heroic in their work. They showed up when nobody else was showing up. They taught in different ways that they had never taught before. After the pandemic, putting the pieces back together with fewer employees doing more work at still less pay because of the cost of living in Austin is so outrageous. With a legislature that simply does not love public education, we must do it here. It is up to this board to understand our worth and these people's worth. And I want to thank this district for genuinely working in consultation to come up with an agreement that gives $4 across the board and a 7% pay raise for certified employees. That means that there is a care, there is a focus, and you're starting to understand our worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rachel Preston.
I'm the French teacher and department chair at Bowie High School. Educators work beyond their contract time constantly because we know that good education changes lives. And because AISD does not set its educators up for success, thereby failing its students. We lack funding for instructional and classroom materials and curriculum writing, so we buy and build our own curriculum. We have classes that are so large that if you spend 2 minutes a day with each of a desired size class of 29, you've used 2/3 of your class period, and we have classes that are well over 30. As a language teacher, I have never in my 12 years had a manageable workload. I teach French 1 through 5 this year, but last year taught AP French and French 6 as well, and will again next year. I'll also be teaching 4 classes stacked together, or I will be forced to say no to my most motivated and advanced students. I have the choice of not teaching all of those courses and denying opportunities to the students who have striven for excellence, but it's not really a choice at all. Of course, I will accept to teach all the students I can next year, while taking on additional duty. Because the compensation in this district is so poor, I can't afford to go part-time or even hold fewer than 4 extra positions right now. If you truly want to improve student outcomes and scores, I ask you to give your teachers a reasonable workload and provide compensation for work done outside of contract time. We know our worth, do you?
Thank you. And last, we have Megan Vasquez.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Interim Superintendent Segura. My name is Megan Vasquez, and I'm a Becker PE teacher, APRA president, and proud Education Austin member. How do we know that the redesign, an $8 million budget line item, is the most effective plan? We are currently working on our master schedules, and we need guidance promptly. Last year, librarians and counselors were rightfully removed as staff members who could help cover classes for teacher planning. However, campuses this year included librarians and counselors in their master schedules, and many schools are planning on using them in their master schedule for next year. Is this permissible? If so, AISD's elementary master schedule redesign slide should reflect this deduction in instructional minutes homeroom teachers are providing. Can there be more transparency? Which campuses do the teachers have more instructional minutes? Which are the ones who are receiving more planning minutes? Can we find an equitable system for essential areas? After these past couple of years, we crave stability. I know that my students and many of my colleagues would appreciate consistency from year to year. We don't want to keep making up new schedules every year. We are tired of flying the plane while we are building it. We would like a system. When we raise concerns, it's not because we like to complain. It's because we want to elevate issues that we see on the ground and find solution for our students and staff. Let's make sure our monthly financial report reflects our values, and let's work collaboratively to create healthy learning and working conditions for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We will now play the recorded message for public testimony, so please listen carefully. They are working quickly to fix a sound problem. Thank you for your patience.
ISD for 34 years. I'm also a proud member of Education Austin. I'm calling in regards to item 11.2, the monthly finance support.
And I work for Project Help, which is the office that supports homeless students. And I am a proud My name is Bree Rolfe, and I work for Project Help, which is the office that supports homeless students. And I am a proud Education Austin member. I'm speaking today on agenda item 12.2, long-range planning. I'm urging trustees to include significant pay increases for all classified employees. We are asking for a $12 an hour pay raise for our classified employees. In my work with Project Help, I am faced with the devastating effects of the rise of the cost of living in Austin every single day. We simply do not pay AISD employees enough to live in the community in which they work. I cannot even begin to explain the value of people like bus drivers, clerks, registrars, LMHPs, and counselors in my work with our highly mobile students. They work miracles on a daily basis. They change lives. We know our worth. Please show that you do too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Pena. I'm a teacher at Maplewood Elementary, and I've been teaching in Austin ISD for 34 years. I'm also a proud member of Education Austin. I'm calling in regards to item 11.2, the monthly financial report, to advocate for a significant pay raise across the board, not at the midpoint. The cost of living in Austin has increased significantly, and we need our salaries to reflect that. I'm a homeowner. I pay, of course, like everybody else, the cost of owning a home here and living here has increased. I would like, with a pay raise, to be able to make some badly needed home repairs. I would like to start thinking about retirement instead of thinking about getting a second job. I know my worth. I work hard for my students. I work hard for this district and for my school. Please show us that you also value that by passing a significant pay increase for all teachers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Martin, and I'm a teacher at Maplewood Elementary, and I'm commenting on agenda item 14.3. I'm a proud Education Austin member. A substantial pay raise is necessary in order for teachers to remain in Austin. My father lives with me, and I've had to move from the more affordable housing of Del Valley back to Austin to be closer to services he needs. My rent is now much more, and I'm concerned that I'll need a part-time job to afford being a teacher in Austin ISD while living in Austin. I've worked for AISD for 17 years, and my heart is in that AISD. However, I was paid much more in Del Valley, and it's been challenging to take a pay cut. A raise would not only help financially, but would also reinforce the idea that AISD teachers are valuable and valued. I know my worth, and my students and parents do too. Having a paycheck that reflected that would show you do as well. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve Swanson. I live in Austin ISD, and I'm speaking on items 12 and 14. To attract and retain teachers and employees, it is essential for all of us to focus on their needs, including compensation. We must also focus on and fulfill our school boards and the state's existing opportunities to govern education to serve those needs. From the House Education hearing last year on September 20th, the three main reasons for the teacher shortage: lack of leadership, testing, and teacher pay. Be encouraged to learn and fulfill the opportunities found in AISD's own existing policies, with the board and superintendent providing leadership in planning and action, serving the needs of teachers, employees, and each student, not just and beyond a test score. We look forward to your questions and hearing your thoughts, and are here to help. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Valencia Johnson, and I'm a special education teacher assistant in Navarro Early College High School. I'm a proud member of Education Austin, and I am calling to speak to agenda item 11.2. We demand a $12 per hour raise for all classified employees. Classified staff are the people who transport our children to and from school. They are the people who feed the children healthy meals every day. They are the first point of contact for everyone who walks into a building in the district. They provide highly skilled, complex care to some of the highest need students in the district. They ensure a clean and safe learning environment for all our learners. The cost of living in Austin has risen, and AIC simply does not pay classified employees enough to live in the community in which they work. Bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, front office staff, and TAs are the backbone of our schools. We cannot function without them. They work magic on a daily basis, sometimes taking on more duties to cover vacant positions or acting as translators when needed. Yet they are not paid even close to what they deserve. We know their worth. Please show that you do too.
Hi, my name is Meg Hardick, and I'm calling to speak on budget item number 14.3 about compensation and benefits for next year. As a former special education teaching assistant, I know all too well the fact that the district cannot hire enough people into the teaching assistant and classified staff positions. I want to see this board approve a budget that values the work of those people and recognizes that in order to do a job well, you have to be paid well. I want to see a living wage for all classified staff as well as certified staff in this district. I thank the board for their continued interest in this sort of an enormous change for the district. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alicia Barton, and I am a bus monitor out of the Southeast Division. I am calling just to give some more opinionated or information about us being able to have pay raises so we can be able to live and enjoy our pay with the cost of living, because right now we're having too much of a struggle. A lot of us are working several jobs, so we would like for you to take into consideration that we would like to have more recreation time with family and friends and not always have to work constantly. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes, my name is Bonnie Knight. I'm an educator at Padrone Elementary. This is in regards to the long-range planning. I would like to express my concerns that we are grossly underpaid, considering that we are preparing future generations to be good citizens of the world. I have been with this district 12 years now, and it is beyond belief what teachers go through. I come from the private sector. I highly encourage you to look at giving us a significant raise that will keep us here in Austin teaching our children how to be good citizens of the world. We were heroes back when COVID hit. We need to be compensated for all that we do for Austin ISD. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask if any of the trustees had clarifying questions on any of the comments we heard. Trustee Kaufman.
Not a question, but just a note of appreciation to all of the people who spoke tonight. The personal stories that describe what your compensation creates for you, the conditions it creates, are very important. That, you know, I think all of my colleagues understand that this is about human beings and about people being able to raise families and pay for things. But it's easy to slip into looking at numbers and not looking at people. So your heartfelt stories are very profound and powerful, and we appreciate your sharing those.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions? Okay, so as a reminder, please feel free to share any general comments or questions on non-voting items with the board by email at trustees@austinisd.org. All right, our next item is part of our commitment to discuss student achievement and have a presentation on scorecard goal 17. Is that the right number? 17? That sounds, okay. Student market share. Thank you.
Thank you, President Singh and trustees. I'd like to invite Oscar Rodriguez and his team. Oscar is our Chief Technology Officer, and he will provide the update regarding the market share tied to our scorecard.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Seguda, President Singh. Tonight, we'll be sharing our scorecard indicator on our student share, our market share of enrollment within Austin.
Oh, really sorry. I unplugged it and needed to. Trustees, tonight we are sharing with you scorecard indicator number 17. The district will increase its student share within boundaries who choose Austin ISD. This is our scorecard indicator that is associated with our total enrollment in ensuring that we are Austin's home for inclusive learning and that we are the best place for Austin students. Currently, for this year, we are looking at 81.4% of student share, which is above our goal of 81%. So we are proud of that, but we also know that we still have room to go. Briefly, I want to share with you the methodology that we use to determine this market share number. So first, we look at the public school population of the students attending Austin ISD, and then we look at all public school students residing within district boundaries on the PEAM snapshot, and that's how we determine our percentage. So briefly, as you may note out of that definition, that does mean that if a student has never been enrolled in a public school, or if they are homeschooled and have always been homeschooled, they may not be captured in that market share because we do not have information to show where that student may be. But this is of the students that we know and our market share overall.
Thank you. I will now hand the presentation to Cass Stevens, our Interim Executive Director of Enrollment.
Thank you, Oscar and Jacob. All right, we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to give you all a picture of the maps of what area we're talking about before we dig into some of the data. So first off, if you look at the map on the left, this is the service area of Austin ISD. So this is our district boundary. It's color-coded by the trustee boundaries. And if you look on the map on the left, those are you can see kind of Austin ISD is the blue portion of that map, and the other independent school districts in the surrounding area. There are 8 other school districts that are kind of nearby our district that border us for the most part. So just kind of to provide some context there. So when we talk about our student share, we're referring specifically for this presentation of the students that live within the boundaries of the map on the left. Go to the next slide. So in this slide, the blue line that you see represents the population of that geographic boundary that we looked at in the last slide of the students that are attending any public school that live in that boundary and are attending a public school. So meaning they're attending either our district, Austin ISD, or another public school district or another public charter school. So the red line below represents the number of those students that are actually attending AISD. So you can see in 2012, all the way on the left, that about 92.5% of the students that lived within our boundaries were attending AISD. And while that percentage has dropped over time as we kind of flow over towards the right, it's important to highlight that our student share has actually remained pretty stable since 2021 at around 81%. Despite the continual decrease in the population of students. So I'd like to just point out that we're actually working on disaggregating some of this data so that we can better understand the market share trends across various demographics. So we're now going to break down kind of the composition of that student population and look at the different the different types of schools that those students are enrolled in. So of the 87,000 students that are attending public school that live within our boundary, about 71,000 of those students, or 81.4% of those students, attend AISD. So you'll note that's a little different than our total district enrollment. The reason is because we do receive some students that come to our district from outside of our boundaries. About 15,000, or 17.2% of the students that are zoned to our district are attending charter schools, and about 1,100 students are attending other public school districts, so some of those surrounding districts that we saw in that second map. And then also, I did want to kind of point out that when we're thinking about these the total student population, we know that there are other students in the area too that might be attending homeschool or charter schools, and those students would not be represented in this data as we don't have access to that data from the state. The state doesn't provide information about those students. So, but what this shows us is we know there are about 15,000 students in our area that aren't choosing AISD and are choosing charter schools. And we can kind of dig into that a little bit more and think about students that left our school district last year. About 25 students left last year, unenrolled last year, and enrolled in either charter schools or private or homeschool. We have data indicating that. So this does represent for us a huge opportunity to work on kind of systems improvements and work on ways that we can continually improve as a district to ensure that we're shrinking that number of students that are leaving year over year. I'll speak to some of the ways that we are addressing that on the next slide. So some of the strategies that we're using to get towards that 82% goal of our student share that Jacob mentioned, where we're headed for 23-24. We're working kind of first off on some marketing strategies that we've utilized in the past 7 years, but some new strategies that we've introduced this year. We have been building ways for systemic student recruitment and kind of building retention capacity with our campus staff. And we've also focused a lot on improving our enrollment and retention system. So I'm going to go into those items a little bit more closely. But I'm also going to kind of start here by thinking through what are the root causes that we're seeing of why we might not be capturing as large of a percentage of that student share as we would like. So one of the areas that we're focusing on is customer service. So some of the tactics that we're using to improve in that area are increasing our professional learning from our front office staff. So think of the people that are welcoming our families every day at our campuses. So how can we make sure they have everything that they need to be able to support our students and families? We're also working with our principals for building strategies for student recruitment. We're calling these student recruitment 101 sessions. That's one of our tactics. Another root cause that we've identified and are focusing on is our disjointed systems. So thinking about kind of technology systems, but also processes and how those connect with our technology systems. I think to refer back to the board presentation when I was here with you all in February, and we were talking about Enroll Austin, so some of those disjointed systems that we talked about in that presentation. So we're kind of the tactics on that side is our new unified enrollment system, as well as we've been increasing our support over the summer for helping through enrollment clinics for supporting families to continually enroll throughout the summer as well. Then finally, another root cause is since 2012, when we're thinking about how we've seen our student share decrease since then, there's a huge increase in choice. So our families across Austin have a lot more choices than they might have in 2012. So that is a root cause of why our student share did see a decrease, and how we're working on growing back that student share is ensuring that we have a full awareness of our variety of programs and offerings for our families, in breaking down some of those kind of communication silos, ensuring that that all of the information about our programs is accessible. And also, one of the things we're looking at is analyzing why students are leaving our system so that we can ensure that we're tightening those gaps. So just going to go in a little bit more detail about some of these tactics before we close out. So this slide was also highlighted in the enrollment update that I provided for you in February, but I wanted to highlight again that we've created enrollment guides for each of our campuses, as well as 90-second videos, and those will be readily available for all of our campuses to kind of promote the variety of campus highlights that each of our schools have. In our next slide, we also have been doing a large push the last couple years for promoting our early learning programs. This was a marketing campaign that we ran at the beginning of April to promote Early Learning Day, which was an event that occurred at all of our elementary campuses with pre-K programs. We saw some successes from that campaign, which you can see here. Some of the reach that we were able to accomplish through different social media platforms, and we also did see over 1,200 students utilize our pre-K application process after that event. So that was a great success. In terms of our student recruitment and kind of building strategies, building awareness of how many students are coming back next year, we're utilizing a registration dashboard to help campuses track how many students month over month are committing to coming back next year and are giving us the information. We're also providing measurable goals for progress monitoring towards our goal of having 80% of our students registered before the end of the school year. In our student recruitment 101 sessions with principals, this is an example of a slide that was used in one of those, where we're having campuses kind of problem solve with each other about what tactics they are using that they've found successful for recruiting new students, but also ensuring that they're having conversations with the families that are already a part of their community to ensure they're coming back year over year to meet those registration goals. Another example, this is an example I really appreciate from Jocelyn Elementary for how they're communicating with their campus community about the value of registration, the importance of how that contributes to staffing, to knowing how, to ensuring that they have the proper number of teachers for their upcoming school year, but also of how simple it is. It only takes 5 minutes to register, and they've kind of gone into some of the frequently asked questions with that. And then finally, another area that we're offering increased support is through some summer enrollment days for the entire month of June. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be offering registration support at Dobie Middle School and here at Austin ISD's central office from 12 to 7 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday in June. And that's there will be a parent support specialist and other staff members available to support families through the registration process, as well as a representative from our pre-K team to help with any pre-K specific needs. And lastly, in thinking about our kind of systems, long-term systems improvements, I just did want to reflect one more time about our unified enrollments Enroll Austin system that we will be launching next November, that really streamlines all of our various enrollment systems to make it easier to access our campuses. That is what I have for you, some of our strategies, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. All right, so trustees, now's the time for us to ask questions on the current vision. So who has questions? Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you for this presentation and for all the work that everyone who's contributing to this, even across campuses. Thank you for doing that. And it just occurred to me as I was listening in the other room, you know what I should have done is video record myself registering my 3 kids. Okay, I'm going to just, quick, right? I had always delegated that since like 2016 because I thought, oh my God, I gotta sign it. But it was not as painful as I thought it was gonna be. I was so happy, and I was like, I did it. And it's not even about tech savvy. Like I consider myself at least tech neutral. But it was, and I think part of it was that I kept getting these emails talking about registration and the enrollment clinics, and I was like, okay, just sit down, just get it done. So I don't know, the bombardment of the message got through to me. So maybe next year I'll video record it and be like, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. And I love the hashtag, what is it, secure?
Simple Standard Secure.
Simple Standard Secure. Who came up with that? You did? I love it.
Thank you.
And I love alliteration. Simple Standard. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask is, or kind of talk about, is middle school enrollment. And I know for some folks that's where they opt out of AISD, and our middle schools have so much to offer. I think there's still more that can be done to improve the middle school experience for staff, teachers, and students and families themselves. But what kind of conversation has there been around what we can do long-term to really bring families back or to encourage them to enroll in one of our middle schools?
Thank you.
You want to respond?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
Sure,
please.
yeah. So we did see the largest decline at the middle school level this year in enrollment, but also at one single grade level, we did see the largest decline at the 9th grade level. So overall, one tactic is looking into promotion of the various programs, and in particularly campus tours is an area that within our Student Recruitment 101 sessions we're focusing on very heavily, of how do we get more families into our schools to get a sense of what they feel like so that they're choosing our schools. And so that is, I feel like, the largest lever for success, but also promotion of the various programs, et cetera. Is there anything, Jacob, you would like to add to that?
Yeah, from a data perspective, definitely looking at the lever analysis. So understanding what are those things within our locus of control that we could do better at. And then I think also conversely, looking at state interviews. What are those things that we are doing well, that our families are appreciative of, and how do we scale that and make some of those things more systemic? So that way we're sort of addressing the problem from both sides.
Oh, and one last thing. Yeah, regarding middle school, so my eldest, so let's see, he's in 6th grade, and the year before, I was hearing from parents, both parents with kids at the same elementary as my child, but also parents with kiddos elsewhere. And I don't think it's a surprise to any of us, but some of the comments were about, oh, don't choose this school because there's XYZ, or don't choose that one, right? Or this one right? And a lot of it was perception and word of mouth rather than, like you said, like actually visiting the campus. So just want to kind of echo or reiterate that's, I love that y'all are looking at how to encourage and support campuses and doing those campus tours. The other thing I wanted to mention was what helped me kind of make a decision about my eldest middle school is that his elementary took their 5th grade class on a tour. So he went on a tour, and it was the cutest thing, right? So this 5th grader, my son, comes home, and he actually talks to me, and he said, which doesn't happen this year, said to me, he said, Mom, they took us to, such and such middle school, and it's so cool over there. And so, yeah, people just need, I really hope that both families and students give all of our middle schools and high schools a chance, rather than just relying on word of mouth or perception. So.
Vice President Foster.
I just as a follow-up, a bunch of us said, oh, that's new. So we've for years thought about and been aware of the kind of lever moments and the re-entry moments, but you mentioned 9th grade, and I just wasn't really aware of that, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more. What do we know about what's going on there?
Yeah, and that number was actually specific to the number of students who left during the school year at 9th grade. I can certainly look into that a little bit more and provide some follow-up detail into that and into the specific number. But so, yeah, I'll provide follow-up.
More to come, and there might be opportunities for us to be of support, as you figure out sort of what's going on, the texture of the challenge. How can we sort of be of service as we try to ensure that we retain those 9th graders?
Definitely.
So, yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Kaufman.
All right, I greatly appreciate the strategies, and I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the efforts to increase enrollment and to improve the service that we provide to families when they visit the offices to enroll, and to publicizing the great things about Austin ISD. I'm in my 18th year as an AISD parent and plan to stay here for the next two plus a month as a parent. and I wouldn't take my kids anywhere else. Right? I believe strongly in the potential of this district, and I believe in the quality of the education that we often provide. So what I say now is like tough love, because it's truly going to say these things in the spirit of that I love this district, and I encourage families to come join us and help us to achieve the goals that we have for all students. But I also recognize that there are many families who do not feel that we're meeting their students' needs, and that is probably one of the primary reasons that people choose to leave or to attend other schools, either because of their own experience in the school or what they've heard from others. And so while I appreciate the idea behind publicizing and improving our systems, I just want us to note in these types of presentations the number one important thing, or what you just talked about in response to the questions, which is providing a really powerful learning experience for our students. But there's a few things I want to just raise to ask to reconsider. One is just some of the wording used. The scorecard indicator talks about student share, and I wasn't here when those indicators were set, but I suspect there was a deliberate effort to call it student share and not to introduce the word market in there. Because if we start to talk about student market share, I start to get the image of little piggies running home from the market. I get the image of going to a store and buying things. I get the commoditization, or whatever that word is, of our students, and looking at these as transactional things for numbers' sake rather than kids. So I would encourage us not to talk about student market share and continue talking about the student share, or to find other words for that. I also noticed, I've heard before, we're using a product called Salesforce to improve our systems, and I'm sure I've heard about it. I think it's a great way to improve. But again, like, what are we signaling when we say that our system is Salesforce? We're not, are we making sales? Is that what we're trying to do? Or how does that affect people when they hear that? So just a couple things to consider. And now you've got me wondering about alternatives to the term customer service, because I've always used that term, but now I'm wondering, like, wow, do I really want us to talk about our families as customers, or is there another way we can refer to that? So I just want to challenge us to kind of, again, to humanize this and to avoid kind of putting it into that AIC is about numbers and the dollars we get for kids, and to really just keep focused on, as much as we can, the humanity of it. Yes to marketing. I'm all in favor of us to publicize the important things we do, and I do believe that that is one of the comparative advantages that some of our other schools have, is that they are excellent marketers and they tell people things, and that we need to continue doing better about telling people about the great things that we do in Austin. So I fully support that and appreciate that. But again, like, focusing on, like, the most important thing is for families to love our schools, for us to serve them well, and for them to tell other people about their great experience here. But I do want to comment, so yes to marketing, but there's one piece I've mentioned before, but I want to bring it up again, the accurate marketing. And there's one thing in particular on this slide, the idea behind, like, have it all in AISD. I just want us to recognize that not every family is currently having it all in AISD, and that is not a promise that we can yet keep. And so I really want us to focus on, like, the great things that we're doing in Austin, but not to overpromise and say that we actually are offering our families to have it all, because we're not, right? We have families who are not getting served effectively in special education. We have a dual language program that is not being implemented with consistency across anywhere, and we have ESL that is practically non-existent in serving our emergent bilingual students. We have hit or miss on whether kids are going to learn how to read in our district, and the availability of our experts who are certified academic language therapists is variable, and you may or may not have one, and we don't actually have that information available for people. And so we have families who desperately want their children to be served by an expert in that field, and we do or don't offer that. And then access to courses and extracurriculars varies widely. We have schools where certain courses are offered and others where they're not, and extracurriculars at some schools but not at the others. So I just want to, again, with tough love, I am a big supporter of ASD. I have my kids here. I will continue to, and I will encourage everybody and anybody to join us in this battle to improve our work, and to truly provide kids. But I just really want us to focus on, just accuracy with that, and so that's one particular thing I just want to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kaufman. Did you have a comment? Okay, Trustee Gonzalez.
Sure. Thank you all. I wanted to add to something that Trustee Lugo had said earlier. I had facilitated one of these summer youth employment program trainings that Trustee Zapata had roped me into at Aikens High School. And I had 4 AISD staff that were helping me to facilitate it: an assistant principal from Eastside, a teacher from LBJ, and 2 teachers from Travis. And we had our training so close to the deadline of when students had to be completed in order to be eligible to participate in the program. And so because of that, we had like a massive turnout. There were like 200 students and their parents that had shown up. And it was kind of a mess, but it was good because there were so many people there. And they were from all over. We had kids that were from Harmony, kids that were from IDEA, kids that had even come from like Manor but lived in Travis County. And they had never been to Aikens before. And the assistant principal who was there running Saturday school at the time, Mr. Manuel Garcia, took the opportunity to give a pitch for Aikens High School and to talk about all the wonderful things that they have to offer. And then the assistant principal from Eastside then stepped in and said, yes, and we also have all these programs and this new CTE pathway with, film, all that stuff. And so I think that there's an opportunity to bring in people that would not otherwise visit those schools, like Trustee Lugo was saying, and to inform them about all the possibilities. Because I had a parent that came up to me and said, I can't remember who said it, that exact thing, that I had not considered this campus because of the things that I had heard, and now I'm here and I see the physical space and I'm talking to other families that have their students enrolled here, and I'm reconsidering that choice. And so I didn't pay the people that had volunteered to help me facilitate the program, but I could envision a situation where we could do that and where we could offer these trainings in a more structural way. So I just wanted to throw that out there. The second thing, and then I have one more after this, is the early learning day. I have a job that I get paid for that's not this, and I have a lot of coworkers that had a lot of positive feedback about the early learning day and live in District 6 in my district and had a lot of questions for me about early childhood and things like that, so I thought that was good. The third thing, we had a presentation about the demographics of the district maybe a month or so ago or 2 months ago. And one of the things that stood out to me in that was the significant decline in our Latino student population. Like, I think it's the demographic group where there's been the largest decline over the past 10 years. And so I believe that the marketing that you all described will be helpful. I also think that's good to talk about positive things that are happening, but I also don't think that it gets to the root cause. And I believe that the people that are closest to the problem are also the people that are closest to the solution. And so I want to know, are these populations going to be consulted? I know that you said you're trying to determine what are the most significant reasons that people left the district, but is that part of the plan, aside from just improving how we market and message and then the system overhauls that you had addressed earlier?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So one of the projects I'm working on currently is helping to build out our new unified enrollment system. We're about to launch some engagement sessions to get some specific feedback on how some specific components of that tool will look, but we're going to be going out to different campus groups. So groups that, for example, there's I'm blanking on the name of the exact program, but Austin Voices hosts a group of parents that are parent advocates, and it's the Promotora program in Northeast Austin, and they meet weekly. And so we're going to get together with that group of individuals. Those sessions are actually facilitated in Spanish to get some feedback on some of these systems, as well as some other, we're inviting some various groups to provide feedback. So we can do similarly. It would be interesting to host a session, a similar type of session about what is it that helps encourage you to, what keeps you in AISD, so that we can engage more groups to be those advocates that you're talking about. And I think something that we found is when parents are able to speak to the value that they find in our campuses, that's very strong, and kind of what you suggested that you witnessed at Aikens, when it's just those kind of impromptu moments, that's often much stronger than seeing a 90-second video on a screen. So,
Yeah, I agree. And I guess I guess the answer to that, my suspicion is that it'll lie in improving some of the programs that Dr. Kaufman just mentioned. So I guess kind of like if we build it, they will come kind of approach.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I love this conversation. Yes. Trustee Hunter. Go for it.
You literally, when you said it, I was circling, I was like, parents, and you mentioned the promotores. If you don't know who they are, you need to find out, because they are deep and strong, and that Heart Vertical team, that Novato Vertical team, they're just parents doing the work, right? It's amazing to watch them work, and whenever I'm with them, my Spanish is very strong. I'm learning more and more Spanish because everything is in Spanish the whole time. The whole day, it's like 8 hours, everything is in Spanish. So it's really awesome to work with them. Again, I think I only sing one note, and that's parents. If we show them what's there, they will be our biggest promoters. I mean, that's all the promoters. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? I'm on several Facebook groups, and I'm in ATX Black Mamas Village, and somebody will be like, "Oh, what's a good school?" And I'll be like, "Where do you live?" "Near you is this school," right? Because everybody else is putting in their charter school or their private school or their parochial school. I'm gonna put in for us, right? Because I believe that we offer a good program. Now, it is not without its foibles, but all comers are welcome, right? We don't say, you're not really our type, or you might be too much trouble, or you know what, your mom's really high needs. We don't do that. That's why we get to wear the name public. Some other people wear that name, and it is a misnomer, right? They are not, because we take all children. Again, I think it's about encouraging our parents to know more, to provide the spaces for them to learn. And when they're standing in line at the HEB, they will be our biggest sellers. When they're at the beauty shop, because they're our biggest distractors right now, that's what you're getting, right? So we pull them in, we show them, we help them. And even if it's not perfect, I think I am the best example of that. I'm somebody who took my child out of public school into a charter school, back into a public school, great success. And so now I tell everyone that story. It's like, what a great job a public school did for my child, right? And so it's just getting our story out. And I'm gonna say this because Dr. Foster is so wise. He says this, I'm gonna try to get it right. He says, there are some people who have an apple and they try to convince you they have an orchard. We have an orchard and we won't even tell people we have an apple. And so we have to do that. You said that, brother. You said that. And so I want us to better train our parents and encourage them and help them know that, yes, we do have an orchard. Yes, a couple worms here and there, but we working on them. We working on them, right? We got some organic growth. We gonna get it right. That's our gardener over there. And so I'm gonna just carry this analogy on. But that's what I want to say. Thank you for your work, and that, like Dr. Kaufman, I too have an 8th grader, 9th grader. We're not going nowhere. As my mama would say, I'm not leaving and I'm not being left.
That was great. Any other questions or comments? I have sorry, Trustee
I have
Buckle.
some comments, although I'm not going to be as fun as you, Trustee Hunter. A handful of things. I want to echo a lot of what I've heard. First, thank you for the leaver questions and the stayer questions. I know we've done some leaver surveys in the past and haven't really been really brave enough to be open and honest and bold about and accept what we're hearing. So thank you for that. I know it takes, it's a mirror that isn't always easy to see, so thank you for really leaning into that and making that part of what you're doing, and the stayer, because I think, echoing some of what we've heard, the people who are choosing our schools are our very best allies. Family to family to family is the most powerful thing we have, and people see marketing for what it is, and, a lot of our families are, of an age where they have been marketed to their whole lives, and they really, really see through it. So I think that authentic relational family to family is super powerful, and the promotoras, families as partners, and just our families on every campus. So, and I think I have a recommendation instead of customer service. I have been trying to get rid of that word for a very long time from many different directions, long before I was on the board. We could call it relationship building, because words matter and words shape how we approach things, and that is what we should be doing if we want it to be authentic. And the relationships are what keeps people with us. So that is my suggestion, that we reframe it, because that's what it is, if it's going to work. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the focus on things that are within our control, and really talking about that. And I see a lot of great stuff there. And I see some gaps that I would love to lift up. And I think it echoes some of what's been said. The first one is that recruitment calendar. And I really appreciate the Recruitment 101 and that real support for families. And I think it's also really important to know that a lot of families are making decisions about where their kids are going to be in November, December, January, whether it's charter or private. If it's private, there are deadlines. If it's charter, there are imaginary deadlines, or deadlines that aren't quite strict, and that calendar really matters. And so we obviously need to keep going year long and year round. But by the time January comes around, we've lost a lot of people if we're not thinking about what happens next year in the fall. So really want to lift that up as an opportunity for working with families as they're deciding and thinking about that year round. Also want to talk about just those really true partnerships with families. You know, I haven't seen that relationship building, power sharing, dual capacity, bringing our families in as real partners. If families feel that partnership, if they feel that sense of belonging, that's going to help us. And I think moving the Family Engagement Support Office back under that engagement is one really powerful shift that will help us do that. And I think it comes with a mind shift. So really want to lift that up. It is in our board policy that we have a strong family engagement policy that we are not living into. That supports us with our behavior, with our academics, with our enrollment, with attendance, with everything. So I know that is, I heard a lot of that language here, and I know we've got true believers throughout the organization, and just making sure we have the resources, the support, the training, and the celebration of that work as much as we celebrate anything else, because that is deeply, deeply important work. And that as we're giving teachers planning time and time to do that, that we may think about giving them family engagement time in their day. Time is a gift, and if some of that planning time during the week could be, I'm not the expert on that, but I think they can't do that on their own time. We can't ask that to be another thing they have on their plate, that we need to honor that as work that is meaningful work. Also want to talk about just that community building. One of the schools in my district that happens to be around the corner from me, Breaker Woods, had a family event that was family picnic about a month ago, like beautiful spring day. They invited me. I went. I was walking over. I could hear the music about 7 blocks away. I'm surprised that no neighbors called. It was very fun. It was a dad band that I would have paid to go see. It was a very good dad band. And walked over. It was not a fancy event. It was not an expensive event. It was not a hard-to-plan event. It was a beautiful spring day. Everyone had brought a picnic. There was one dad band. They have said now that there are several dad bands who want to play, other jealous dad bands, and because Austin will be Austin. And they had a bounce house and snow cones. That was it. So it's not complicated. There were 300 people there. There were families that weren't at Breaker Woods yet, coming from the neighborhood. It was really hard to ignore that something fun was happening because you heard the band. And they took all comers. So I think really leaning into that community building and making sure, again, that we're giving people the support they need to make that happen in a way that just brings people together. And I will speak as a parent, that community, I lost both of my parents when my kids were in elementary school. That community is what supported me through that. When I had a deadline at work or something dropped on me and I needed emergency help, those are the people I called. When your kid runs into a learning issue, a friendship issue, and anything, those are the people you call. Once we make room to create that, we never lose anyone. That's what keeps people with us. And really, those things are within our control. We have to make room for them, and we have to celebrate them, and we have to recognize them as just as important as anything else that we do. And then finally, I really appreciate the idea of making sure people know our schools. And you're doing that already in a lot of ways, but really supporting our schools. We talked about the high school plays tonight, making sure that we're inviting kids before they're in high school to be part of those events. Those happen in every neighborhood in our city. They're affordable, they're often free. Making sure that people who aren't yet part of our district are invited to our sporting events, our arts events. The exciting trainings that are happening on our campuses, like Trustee Gonzalez was talking about, that we're welcoming them and inviting them and doing that, people not yet in high school into our high schools, people not yet in middle school into our middle schools, and people not yet in our elementary schools into our elementary schools. And for a very long time, on my wish list has been like infant gathering, parent-child gatherings with babies. When you're in the neighborhood, you don't know anyone, you have no clue what you're doing if you're anything like I was. And that gathering place where you can come, and the schools belong to everybody, so we need to make sure they know they belong to everybody and come and join us. So thank you for indulging those ideas. I know I'm really grateful for all that you're doing, and you will have our full support for anything else that we can do to celebrate all the great stuff we have to offer and make sure that all the great things you're doing are fertile ground to bring more people in and more people back. So thank you.
Awesome. I would love to comment about two things that you mentioned. One is in the June board meeting, we're actually going to be considering some policy changes that we're making to our transfer policy, and a kind of compilation to that, or combination with that, will be some changes to our calendar that will roll out alongside our unified enrollment systems. So one of we're actually, some of the engagement I was referring to earlier, we're actually going out to engage on the calendar changes that we're proposing to adjust, but that there would be about a 3-month period from November through mid-February when we would be trying to put as many families as possible through that timeline to get decisions earlier, about enrollment decisions earlier, and then there would be a process for families to inform us on their decisions after that time period as well. But our goal is to actually start that significantly earlier next school year. So that's timely.
You. That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank
yes. you. And the other piece I wanted to comment about is two things related to the community building. I remember we had a great conversation one time about the campus carnival on the go idea, because you had mentioned to me about that event at Briker Woods and how having a bounce house that campuses could maybe check out and use for this type of carnival. I love that idea. I think that's an idea we definitely need to explore for how to make that come to fruition. So just wanted to comment on that. And then finally, I've had an idea over the past several years through some of the work I've done with some of our high schools, but many of our high school CTE programs have amazing programs that they're provided to the community. So an example is our cosmetology programs that are at Navarro and Crockett, as well as the floral program at Navarro. One of my friends who used to work here in the district actually had her wedding flowers done through the floral department at Navarro. And a lot of those opportunities are more affordable than some of the alternatives that you might get on the market, but that money also goes back to the programming of students, and sometimes the students even earn a small wage from those types of programs. So one of my ideas is how can we catalog all of those different programs that are available to the community to increase the awareness and the usage of those programs, but also that can be an attractor of more students potentially joining those programs too.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that so much.
I'm working on it with the CTE program. We need some. It's a good summer intern project, I think.
Maybe we can have like a free giveaway staff person wedding where it's catered, flowered, and at an Austin ISD campus, then we invite the media to cover it. So thank you. I love it.
That'd be pretty cool.
I think we do have, don't we have a teacher couple that's getting married at one of our campuses?
Do we?
We do. Does anybody know about that? I did hear about this.
Wait, did that go through? I'm just kidding.
No, I can't remember which campus
We have not
it is,
approved that
but
building use agreement.
there is a couple that's getting married at school.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So anyway.
Are we invited?
Okay, Trustee Zapata. No, we're just kidding.
Well, I'll be celebrating my 30th. Maybe we'll do it next year.
Happy anniversary.
So I agree with what Trustee Boswell was saying and about the relationship, because it's creating a relational culture from the within staff with parents, because you know, and I was so happy to hear about the customer service, even though that's not. I think it's maybe really. Hospitality. When they opened our Southeast clinic, I walked in, and my husband took me all around because I was so happy we finally got our clinic open. And I said, "Is anybody here? Because nobody has said hi or nothing." He goes, "There's people everywhere." Nobody said, "May I help you? Are you here? Do you have an appointment or anything?" So I called the CEO. I said, "Hey, we need to fix something over here." When people come in and they're sick, they need to be received, welcomed, you know, because you don't know what it took for them to get there. So they hired a hospitality person to welcome them at the door. I was really looking more at teaching everybody how to be relational and not pay somebody to have to be relational. There's a difference, you know. So there is, you know, that kind of training, and it's, you know, we're all human, you know. We go through things, and like I tell my grandkids and my kids, you know, hey, your teacher is a mom, is a sister, is an aunt, or grandma to somebody, so you treat them right, you know. And so they don't come to school without problems, you know. And so we have to be respectful all the time. So creating that relational culture is what we need in our schools, because when I have talked to many parents, that was the turnoff. They didn't listen to me, they ignore me, they say they don't speak Spanish, you know. It's just a whole list. The other thing is that AISD has done such a great job in developing leaders through Close-Up, through the champions. And I know I went to another event where it was all the Spanish-speaking groups, graduates. I don't know which one that was. Yeah, so all of those people you already have developed, and people who want to do for the district. I'm sure you all have their numbers. Give them a call and let them be the ones to help with your strategy, because they come from all over the district. So that's some already time that y'all have invested, and these are people who have committed to complete those programs, and so maybe this could be a next step, you know, to continue help them develop their leadership. And then there's all these, the Parks and Recreation is starting to do movie nights and the parks, and there's a lot of kids there. And you know who else is there? But we're not there. So if we can, you know, figure out when we can cover those, because they come early, and there's a lot of kids. And also, let's see, the champions. God. Oh, so when I go with my friends, you know, I go to watch tours with them. I start talking to them. Let's watch the tours are full on Saturdays. So I sometimes say, hey, when are you going? Because I want to go with you, so we can talk to them. Because that's where I recruited when I did. I worked with one of the TV stations to get the 3-year-old programs started with United Way. And I recruited through the Washaterias. My whole team of 20 parents, 3 sessions of 20 different parents. So, and I know we're building like this new child 3-year and under facility that will be opening next year. That we need to begin having a relationship and seeing how we're going to partner, like Wadane could go read to them, and, you know, different kinds of things. All those things are possibilities of how we can also increase and engage new children that will be coming to our schools. And then I guess tying into our students who want to be teachers, oh God, this is an opportunity for them to come out and meet with students and to, you know, begin their social skills on how to get students to come to AISD. So it's an opportunity to also help them begin learn to expand and develop their leadership and get in build that confidence for education. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I'd just like to comment about the movie nights. I love that idea, and that could be a potential, we could add a projector to our Carnival in the Box idea so that our campuses could host movie nights potentially at their campuses as part of some of those evening events. I love that idea. Thank you.
Any other trustees?
I'm quick because y'all had so many great things to say. And I want to echo that focus on the early childhood and even expanding our options of full day pre-K 3 on down to younger kids, like really, really looking critically on how we can be that provider that people trust with their kids' education and just, stay with us. And I saw the front office staff training, and it made me think of, I'm like, okay, what does that training look like? Is it like sitting in front of a screen? And it made me think of job-alikes and how we have like some superstar front office staff members. Like when, like the first time I visited Eastside, like when I left, I was walking with my head held high because I was so complimented on my shirt. Just, they're just throwing out compliments at everyone and just making you feel so good. And like, who are these superstars? We know who they are, and they're the experts, so they can be training people in that relationship building. So those are my comments, and if you have any news on that, I'd like to know.
Yeah, so something that we have started this year, and we're continuing to grow year over year, but we have one place, we call it our front office campus hub, where multiple departments at the central level have collaborated together to put all the information that we provide to campus office staff in one place, so that it's not like go to this department's page or this set of directions. Nice. It's all in one tile in our portal. So that's and then in terms of the professional development in the fall, we provided one kind of welcome back to school Zoom session, along with several asynchronous sessions, or synchronous sessions, but kind of multiple opportunities. We had less in-person trainings this past fall than we wanted, than we hoped, that we were able to find a way to be able to provide, because it is a large amount of folks that we're talking about. We were able to, in January, provide for new office staff that started at any point last semester. We did provide an in-person training for those folks, and it went so well. We had a huge success, and people were very engaged. They were very grateful for the learning opportunity we provided. So we're actually currently in the process of developing what we're calling our Renew training. That's going to be a two-day professional learning experience in late July, most likely. We're in the process, we're in the beginning stages of finalizing what that's going to look like, and our goal is to make as much of it in person as possible. Yeah. Thank you. And in terms of the job alike, we have also looked at some of those all-stars, and we have many of them identified, and many of them have always give out their number, have them call me. What we really want to find out is a way to actually formalize a mentorship program and be able to provide a stipend to those individuals so they can be supported in providing that work. So that's a goal as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a couple of comments. One is I really love just the presentation, like the document. I for some reason it resonated with me. So it's just, especially like the root cause and the tactics, that makes so much sense. So thank you for putting that thought into it. I was curious about the slide 11, where you talk about the goal for every campus to be at 80% of their projected enrollment. This is so, I love this, because this is like the system stuff that we're always talking about. It's like, let's not just hope things happen, just throw a bunch of stuff, but by having some kind of metric like this and having these little targets is just so aligned with what I think needs to really happen if we want to move the needle. So can you tell me a little bit about how this might be rolling out, or if this is already happening, and what kind of support principals might have in this particular expectation?
Yeah, so this, what you see is a screenshot of the dash. This is a live dashboard that we've built through a platform called Tableau. What you see is, I think that screenshot was from about probably Monday, the beginning of the week. So now we're up to 29,000, so the number we've increased by 3,000 new registrations this week, but that represents about 40% district-wide of registrations that have come in comparison to our projected enrollment for next year. All campus staff have access to this dashboard. We have shared it in multiple avenues so far through our Principal Weekly, as well as through our Student Recruitment 101 sessions, and I actually was able to provide a student recruitment session to all of our assistant principals at a learning series they recently had. So we've reviewed this with staff, and we're also working with it. Kind of further down the dashboard, there's a section that shows the specific campuses that are on track with the goal or have already met the goal, or other campuses that are kind of less on track for meeting the goal. So as we get closer to kind of nearing when we're nearing the deadline, we'll do some specific outreach with those campuses that haven't met the that still need a bit more support.
Thank you. And I'm thinking that there's I imagine student mobility has something to do with this, and we don't have a lot of control over where students are living. But I do wonder if we might at some point consider a policy that would allow us to provide transportation to students who are moving from school to school, but allow them to finish out a school year at their school that they started at, particularly if they are economically disadvantaged. Because when you look at the data, mobility actually has as much or more impact or correlation with student performance as their economic situation. It's really the mobility and the instability, perhaps, of a student's life, when they're moving from school to school. So I'm just wondering, that's always been something I've been curious about, if there were other districts that maybe have a policy that would allow students to stay in their home campus and not move mid-year and things like that. So that might help us keep more kids in a campus and build some of that social capital, those relationships, and all of that stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention was, gosh, everyone's leaving, but this idea of showcasing our programs, I was absolutely blown away by what I saw at LBJ the other night, and looking at their health sciences. You were there, all of us on this side of the dais were there, I think. And I just want to say, any child who has any interest in being a doctor, nurse, or having any sort of medical career, please look at LBJ. I imagine Aikens is similar. I haven't seen Aikens set up, but it, we do have to bring people in. We just do. And maybe it's bringing intact groups, like a church group or, the Girl Scouts or like whatever, even from other districts. Like I think about LBJ, it's so close to other school districts up there. Let's bring them in, because our policy does allow for transportation from other school districts now. So there's just a lot out there and unmet potential. And I'm going to start posting in my Indian moms groups about all of this, because people sometimes automatically think, oh, LASA is the place to go if I want my kid to do this or do that. It's like, no, like if you want your kid to be a doctor, like LASA is great, but so is LBJ, so is Aikens. I mean, they're actually like learning how to do sutures and take blood on like really, they're getting their certification, their industry certification. So it's the same training that they would get at ACC. And in fact, I've got to talk about LBJ for one more minute. So we actually have an item 11.1 where we're approving the community care clinic at LBJ. So now our students are going to have like access to a real live healthcare clinic, state of the art. It's beautiful, and be able to observe, interact with the health professionals there. And I just can't, we just got to get this out there. We just do. And I'm just going to make one last plug for the alignment of vertical teams in East Austin, because I just think that has so much to do with why we lose kids at these transition points, 6th grade and 9th grade, because all their friends are splitting to like 8 different schools, and then there's like 5 different charter schools. It's like, no, let's just keep them together. There's an expectation they stay together, and we'll probably be able to retain more of our students. But this is super impressive. I just love how you all organize the presentations, really rich data, so thank you. Anything else from anyone? Okay. All right, so, did you want to?
No, I will say, great job, team. I do want to let the trustees know that, as we talk about all of this, I do approach this from a growth mindset. Like, I really do believe that AISD is well positioned. If you think about the fact that we are the largest provider of public education in Central Texas, and really, for a pretty large region, that's an incredible thing to consider. And so, just the number of folks that we engage with, the communities that we serve, the number of students that we support, we're well positioned. So I think it's what do we do now as we move forward? How do we think critically about it, and how do we get the work done? So it's a moment to think about, we're moving in the right direction. I think I'm pretty excited about it.
For sure. I can tell y'all are working super hard. It shows. Thank you. All right, so we will move on to the consent agenda. So I have 2 items that I would actually like to request that we move for a separate vote. One is 12.1, which is creation of the AISD Public Facility Corporation under Chapter 303 of the Texas Local Government Code. And Ms. Video, can I group 2 together for just for the purposes of pooling?
Yeah, you can pull, yeah.
And then the other one I wanted to pull is 14.6, which is our resolution regarding vouchers. So I guess I will move to pull item 12.1 and 14.6. Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
So, all right, so Trustee Singh has pulled 12.1 and 14.6 with a second by Trustee Lugo. Trustees, are there any other consent items anyone would like to pull? Yes.
Yes, I would like to pull 13.1 just for a discussion in executive session regarding termination of our professional employees.
Okay.
And I would like to pull 14.3 and 14.4 for the sole reason of having Ms. Hosek come up and share the great news about what those policy changes entail and what they mean for our employees.
Okay, and for those 2, Trustee Coppin, for 14.3 and 14.4, would they need to be pulled for a separate vote, or can they just be discussed as part of the discussion?
I am happy for them to be discussed. I would just like Ms. Hosek to have a chance to share what they are about.
Okay, so we will.
So I would like to pull. So I will change my motion, withdraw that. I move to pull 13.1 for a separate vote.
Okay. Is there a second on pulling 13.1? All right, so trustee Kaufman made a motion to pull 13.1, seconded by trustee Zapata. Do we need to vote on the pulling?
You never do.
Okay,
No.
just making sure. I was testing you. Okay. Okay, so just to summarize, I have trustee Singh has pulled items, sorry, it's taking way too long, 12.1 and 14.6 with a second by trustee Zapata, and trustee Kaufman has pulled 13.1 with a second by trustee, was it Lugo? Zapata. Okay. Okay, did I get that all right? Was it Lugo for the first one? Okay, sorry. Oh my gosh, y'all are gonna kill me. Okay, 12.1 and 14.6 by me and seconded by Lugo, and then the other one was fine. So, Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, I make a motion to approve consent agenda items 10.1 through 10.9, 11.1 through 11.2, 12.2 through 12.3, and 14.1 through 14.5.
Okay. All right. Is there a second? Yes. I need a second. Would you like to provide it?
Okay, second.
Okay, thank you. So, is there any discussion?
So, you said 14.1 to 14.5?
Mike, please.
Oh.
So it's a motion to pull 14.1? I mean, approve 14.1 through 14.5?
Yes.
Correct.
So the Kaufman did you pull 14.3? I thought.
I withdrew that motion. They're still on the consent agenda. I withdrew that motion.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I have a question.
Yes.
Ms. Hosek, would you care to share with us the changes that those policies represent?
Thank you, Dr. Kaufman. I appreciate it. Good evening, Board. Thank you again. I'm actually incredibly excited to bring these policy changes to you this evening. It is our intent to make sure we are in review of our policies on a consistent basis so that we are a more employee-centered entity. And so these changes that are coming to you tonight, I think, are reflections of those decisions. Specifically to DEA local, it is a change that refers to when we have a district closure. And so it is right in the middle of page 2 of 3 on that policy, and it talks about when an employee is on leave and we have a district closure. The practice has been that if you took a sick day that day, or if you took a personal day that day, you lost that time. And I can't think of a more unnecessary thing to do than to take time while we are closed. So we will not do that, and we will only continue to do that if you are on a formal extended leave. So you cannot interrupt FMLA, for example, for a closure. So that can be uninterrupted time. But anybody that had any sort of personal or sick or whatnot scheduled that day, we will return that time to that employee. Also, this is a clarification for our incredibly talented operations folks, especially, that when we are closed for a disaster of any sort, particularly thinking back on our winter storm this last winter, what has occurred has been that prior to board resolution, when you also graciously would grant our employees to be paid during a closure, if by chance the board did not pass a resolution and employees were called into work for operational, repairs, et cetera, they would be paid at time and a half. However, because the board does usually pass those resolutions, and that we don't want to make that decision for you, but should the board pass that resolution, the employees that were being called in to work physically were only getting a half time more than an employee that got to stay home and warm in their PJs. And so that's not equitable, and we want to make sure that we are compensating our employees fairly. So should the board pass a resolution to pay employees during a closure, those that are called into work will be paid on top of that at straight time. So it would effectively be double time for those hours, to be thankful for their service during that time. Any questions on that policy?
All right, any other discussions?
And then DEC.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. And then DEC, so policy DEC, we, again, another couple of changes that we want to make sure we are taking care of our employees. First of all, I spoke to one of our employees this year. I'm not going to use her name, but she's from Bear Creek Elementary, and she lost a parent this year. And we had a very long conversation about there was no option for her, and there was no help for her, and just didn't feel taken care of by the district, that we did not have a bereavement policy. And so as such, we have included that in this policy. For the very first part of the policy, it expands on who we would include in that sort of crisis. Obviously, we cannot change the definition of FMLA, but for bereavement, we can expand that definition of a family member. So it does include bereavement for up to 3 days and the loss of a family member. And finally, and I think the most exciting change to this policy, is one of the best retention strategies we can do, especially at this time of the year, is to make sure that our campuses are taken care of and that we are not a district of use it or lose it. And so this policy change is to incorporate rewarding our employees who have been with us for 10 years or more and that have not used their time and have come in day after day after day after day and been loyal to us, that we will reward that with paying out a maximum of 25 days of local sick time for our professional employees at a rate of $250 per day, and for classified employees, $150 per day, up, again, a max of 25 days. And again, that is for local sick only. Your personal time is state time that you can transfer elsewhere. And so, and personal time is also something that the supervisor has to approve, and so there's not an egregious pattern of usage. So again, we want to make sure that first of all, for all of our 9-year district teachers and staff out there, hold on, don't leave, because we want you to stay and get that 10th year, and but don't take subs. And so we are incredibly proud to bring these policies forward, and thanks to Mr. Ramos, our CFO, for helping us find the funding solutions to make this happen.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Yes.
I think y'all did amazing work, and I think you have demonstrated that we know our staff's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee.
Thank you. All right, so having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve consent items 10.1 through 10.9, 11.1 through 11.2, and 12.2 to 12.3, and 14.1 through 14.5. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So now we will now move to the items that have been pulled from the agenda. The first one is agenda item 12.1, which is related to the Public Facility Corporation. And Secretary Boswell, do we have a motion on that one?
I move to approve item 12.1.
Okay, any questions or comments on 12.1?
Do you have a second?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, I do have to have a second.
Yeah, so we can discuss it.
Okay, yes. So Trustee Boswell made a motion. Do we have a second on approving 12.1? Second. Okay. Now I can ask, is there any discussion? I'll answer my own question. I wanted to ask, actually, our board counsel, if that's okay, to talk a little bit about the exposure of the board members as being the directors of this public facility corporation. That was one question. And then the second question I had was related to the clause that spoke about that the governing body would vote on any bonds issued by the public facility corporation, but we wouldn't have to vote on other contracts. So just for some clarification.
Sure, and if necessary, we could convene an executive session if it became important to talk about very specific items. But with regard to liability, the statute speaks to it expressly, so I could just give you just a brief recitation of the law. Section 303.035, subsection F, states that a director, which is what you all would be, has the same immunity from liability as is granted under the laws of the state of Texas to a member of the sponsor's governing body. That would be AISD's governing body. So the same immunity that you would enjoy as trustees, provided you're acting in good faith and within the course and scope of your functions, which is always a carve-out.
Okay.
And then with regard to the issuance of bonds, there is a specific provision, there's a specific subchapter that deals with the issuance of bonds, and it does require approval of the governing body of the sponsoring organization, which would be AISD, before bonds are issued by the PFC.
Okay, thank you. And then regarding, so typically, when in our role as school board trustees, contracts come to us if they exceed $100,000, and that's when we vote. But it sounds like the same thing doesn't happen in a public facility corporation. I guess I'll ask to anybody who would like to answer. And is that typical of these types of arrangements where we're not approving contracts for other work?
So I guess one thing I would say is, as the corporation, as the board itself, y'all as a board would determine kind of under what parameters you'd want to see which contracts, not unlike what you do now. So our goal would be to kind of mirror what you do currently in your practice. I don't envision an instance where we would be too far out of the framework that we're operating in already. But again, that's all part of the conversation as we move forward to get this developed. But yeah, I would anticipate anything different than what you already do.
Okay, so because right now, so what we're approving tonight is not the final contract. Is that
correct?
Okay, so there would still be some clarification.
Refinement.
Okay, some refinement. And do you all have a recommendation on what that threshold should be for the directors, the board members, for approving things in the PFC, or would we want it? Is that something that would actually be in the final contract?
We can add provisions in the contract as appropriate based on the needs of the board, which obviously in this case is the PFC, but also the trustees. So I think we have that flexibility at this point. I'd want to mirror what we're doing already.
Okay.
So I don't know that we would deviate from that. I mean, I'm certainly to bring back whether a board update or something else regarding like a framework or maybe of a matrix of the contract type as well as value amount, but it would mirror what we already do at this point.
Thank you. That would be helpful because, that would be really helpful. I just want to make sure that our trustees are okay with that. Okay.
Trustee Singh, it might also be helpful to note that meetings of the PFC are also subject to the Open Meetings Act. So it's not like all of this would be going on under the cover of darkness.
Oh, sure,
it's the same transparency.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. All right. So having a motion by Secretary Boswell. Oh, there was more? Another question on this one? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I believe it was at our information session, the gentleman that were here, I expressed some concern about the position of having to do two things. There were two things that came up. One was the delegation of a smaller or different board. That came up as our option, and I want to make sure that, I don't know that everybody was here, everybody heard that, if we can have an explanation of that. And then I know for a lot of people, our community members are like, oh, AISD is going to be landlords. No, we're not. And so if we can get some clarification around that also for our community members.
So I'll address the board member piece. And so the best practice is with regards to being, as far as the makeup of the PFC board, it's usually made up of current ISD board members because they are elected officials. With regards to the total number that can be in the PFC board, we can have as much as a minimum of 3 board members that serve on the PFC. It would be up to the purview of our current board to decide what that number is. So it could be between 3 and 9 board members as preferred by our current board. And then I'll let Jeremy or Christine talk about the landlord piece.
Yep. Thank you. For the question regarding AISD acting as a landlord, the PFC more so, the structure we're looking to do is ground lease the land to a owner-operator of housing, who they would act as the manager of the housing, the landlord collecting rents. So we are leasing the land to them to build on top of, but we as AISD will not be collecting rent checks. We will not be evicting people. The only thing that we will be able to do is set income requirements so that it's affordable for our teachers and staff, and also help through the tools of the PFC protect long-term affordability for that site.
And so a lot of people will just say, well, why don't you just sell it? Well, we've seen how that goes. Talk to all of us about, you mentioned it just a little bit there, the benefits of ground leasing it. What can we control, or what do we have control over at that point?
Sure. So first off, just in terms of maintaining ownership, control is the key word, right? So if we sell it, as much as we could put some deed restrictions in, those, 1, minimize value, but 2, can go away over time. Whereas if we maintain long-term ownership, we can invest in the community and make sure we have a say as to what happens on our land. And so in terms of the tools of the PFC, it allows within this lease structure to keep the property tax exempt, which means we can remove that variable, which we all know is not predictable anymore in the city of Austin, right? Taxes are going up and not a steady rate. It's, jumping from year to year. So in this way, we remove that variable completely. And so then we can kind of predict that the rents, how they're going to, in a perfect world, kind of go up year over year at a steady rate to protect that affordability, that attainability of those rents. And so that's the benefit of this program here that we are trying to do to basically unlock the affordability on this site by keeping ownership of it and keeping it tax exempt.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the Public Facility Corporation? Okay, so having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve item 12.1, right? Yes. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously by the 7 of us that are on the dais. Thank you. And now I will move to agenda item 14.6, which was the other one that was pulled, the resolution regarding vouchers. Secretary Boswell, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve item 14.6.
Thank you. Okay, so Trustee Boswell made a motion to approve 14.6 with a second by Trustee Zapata. Are there any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. The motion passes unanimously by all those on the dais. All right, there was an item that was pulled. It was 13.1, so that we could speak in executive session about it. So what I think we will do is we'll go to executive session, combine it with our other executive session. We have other executive session topics combined. No?
Do you want?
Oh, yeah, okay, so we'll just go talk about that one item. We'll come back and vote, and then we'll go back. Yep. Thank you. Make sure I don't close the meeting accidentally. That's just all I ask. Can't close the meeting. Okay, so we will now recess the open meeting. at 9:13 p.m. Where's everyone going? And move to executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, 551.076, and 551.071. Once we have finished with that session, we will briefly return, vote, and then go back into closed session. Thank you. Okay, we will now reconvene the open meeting at 9:41 p.m. So, Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion on item 13.1?
Yes, I move that we approve item 13.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, with a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Kaufman on item 13.1, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So we will now recess the open meeting at 9:41 p.m. and move to our next executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, 551.076, and 551.071. And when we are finished with the executive session, we will briefly return to open session to formally adjourn the meeting. The adjournment will be recorded and be included in all replays of tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening. So we will now reconvene the open meeting at 12:34 a.m. Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to adjourn, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously. We will now adjourn at 12:34 a.m. Thank you.